Chapter 285. Killing intent everywhere. F***CK. Who is this guy in black? So arrogant. 7th division mark. That is a rare 7th division mark. In his eyes, it is like dog shit. Arrogant to the extreme. The surrounding students pointed at Yuan Huai. This person was too much. Even Deacon Kai's brows were tightly knitted together. The forest assessment was quite difficult. It was what Qiyang University relied on to select the top disciples. Yuan Huai not only humiliated a 7th division disciple, but also trampled on Qiyang University. Who the hell are you? Kai Shichong asked impatiently. If Yuan Huai did not come out of the spiritual array, it meant that he was a participant in the assessment. Kai Shichong would have killed him with one palm. That's right. Who do you think you are? Arrogant words. You dare to look down on me? Do you want to die? The 7th division disciple was angry as well. As he spoke, blue flames rose from the 7th division disciple's body. His momentum was strong. He was ready to teach Yuan Huai a lesson. This guy who did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. As the blue energy rose from his body, there was an uproar around. Sure enough, the 7th division disciple was a powerful Yuan Zong. A Yuan Zong powerhouse in the academy was enough to be ranked in the top 20 of the Earth list. The kid in black was probably going to suffer. I look down on you, it is your honor. In fact, in my eyes, you are just an unremarkable dog, Scram. Yuan Huai's gaze tightened as he shouted. Blue energy rose from his body. The blue flames were many times stronger than the 7th division disciples. With one blow, he knocked the opponent to the ground. The 7th division disciple spat out blood, his eyes filled with fear. Immediately, Yuan Huai's mouth crooked, revealing a contemptuous smile. The arm behind his back was raised in front of everyone. On his arm, there was a shocking 8 division mark. Hiss! The surrounding people gasped. Strong. Really strong. No wonder he dared to be so arrogant, treating 7th-level disciples as pigs and dogs. He had the qualifications to be arrogant. Yuan Huai, who was dressed in black, actually had an astonishing 8 segment mark. He was also a Yuan Zong expert. However, Yuan Huai was able to make a level 7 disciple spit out blood with a single attack. It was obvious that Yuan Huai was stronger, and he was at least a 2-star Yuan Zong. At this moment, the dissatisfaction on the faces of the surrounding students immediately vanished, replaced by fawning expressions. The strong should be worshipped by everyone. Even Mount Ibaraki was stunned for a moment. He said in a low voice, "This person is difficult to deal with. He hasn't shown his full strength yet. I'm afraid he has some backing in the academy. Tell our people not to provoke him if they can, lest he brings me trouble." "Yes, boss." Several members of Red Daddy Club behind him said. "What do you think, old man? Am I qualified to become a disciple of Qiyang University?" Yuan Huai curled his lips and asked Kai Shichong coldly with an arrogant expression. But in his heart, he was furious. He originally had the chance to raise his mark to level 9 and become the first person in history to do so. He had never thought that his previous mark would be snatched away by Qin Hao, who had even broken his wrist. In the past 7 days, he had hunted down and killed many contestants. He had even risked his life to kill 3 low-level beasts and used countless treasures to barely raise his mark to level 8. If his mark had not been snatched away by Qin Hao, there would definitely be a 9 on his arm now. This was all thanks to Qin Hao. Yes. Honorable young master, it is the honor of the academy to have you join Qiyang University. Kai Shichong replied fearfully as he wiped the cold sweat off his head. It had been many years since he had seen a level 8 mark, other than the unprecedented level 9 mark, and level 8 mark was, in fact, the highest mark. If the higher-ups of the academy knew about this, it would definitely cause a commotion. Who knew how many elders would fight to take Yuan Huai as their disciple? In Kai Shichong's eyes, Yuan Huai was already the most outstanding freshman in the entire outer yard. But your level 8 mark is too shocking. My lowly status needs to report to the higher-ups of the academy. Then, the higher-ups will decide on your private residence and the number of mysterious crystals you can receive. Kai Shichong bowed respectfully, afraid that he would neglect Yuan Huai. At this moment, he suddenly remembered that Elder Wang was standing next to him. Wang Dajuan was an elder of the outer yard. His status was much higher than Kai Shichang's. Yuan Huai's mark was at level 8, so Elder Wang should have received him personally. But since Elder Wang arrived, he had been absent-minded and did not care about the contestants coming out of the spiritual array. In fact, Wang Dajuan was still absent-minded at this moment. He held a portrait in his hand and looked around from time to time. His eyes swept across the faces of the unfamiliar contestants, as if he was waiting for someone. If Yuan Huai was interested and stuck his head out to take a look at the portrait in Wang Dajuan's hand, he would be very surprised, or even angry. It was Qin Hao's face in the portrait. Even if his ancestors beat Yuan Huai to death or turned to ashes, he would never forget Qin Hao's face. I wonder how this person offended Shifu Academy's elder Ouyang. Wang Dajuan sneered inwardly. But fortunately, Qin Hao offended old man Ouyang, so he had the opportunity to work for Shifu Academy. If he could use this opportunity to get rid of Qiyang University's trash of a low-level elder and become a high-level elder of Shifu Academy, he would be able to get whatever he wanted in the future. The premise was that he had to kill Qin Hao first. He glanced at the setting sun. The assessment was about to end, but the person in the portrait still had not appeared. He most likely died in the forest. Well, it saved him some trouble. At this moment, he felt someone poke him with his arm. Elder Wang, what wonderful things are you thinking about? Speaking of which, an 8th-level disciple appeared in this assessment. You should quickly receive him. Kai Shilai was so anxious that he was sweating. He had poked Wang Dajuan several times already, but the other side seemed to be sleepwalking, not responding at all. Oh, I'm coming, what did you say? An 8th-level disciple appeared. Wang Dajuan recovered from the beautiful dream of killing Qin Hao, but he was greatly alarmed in his heart. He looked at Kai Shichang in disbelief. An 8th-level disciple actually appeared in the assessment. Yes, this young master has been waiting for you for a long time. Kai Shichang pointed at Yuan Huai opposite him. At this moment, Yuan Huai's face was full of impatience. He had been ignored by Wang Dajuan for too long. Sorry, I've been having a lot of beautiful dreams recently. I dream of returning to the past and becoming a 17 or 18-year-old boy with all kinds of beautiful women. Ha, Wang Dajuan said with a face full of embarrassment. He had to find a reason to avoid Yuan Huai. Then he said with a straight face, but your imprint is at the 8th level. I can't make the decision. I need to report to the vice principal and let him decide. No need. I will personally go find my master. You trash don't need to worry about me. You're really ruining my mood. Yuan Huai directly interrupted Wang Dajuan. His heart was full of anger. Having his imprint taken away by Qin Hao had already made him very angry. A low-level trash elder dared to put on airs in front of him. This made Yuan Huai even more angry. His words did not give Wang Dajuan any face, but it did not arouse the other party's dissatisfaction. On the contrary, it was like a bomb had exploded on the spot. The explosion caused everyone's eyes to widen as they stood rooted to the ground. Chapter 286. This enmity must be avenged. The vice principal, Shimen Hua, could be said to be able to cover the sky with one hand in the outer court. He was second only to one person and above tens of thousands. In fact, the dean of the outer court had always been elusive and rarely managed the outer court. All this while, the vice principal had been the one in charge, and he had a lot of authority. Shimen Hua was only 30 years old. Not only was he young and promising, his strength was even more monstrous. It was rumored that he had always been arrogant and did not accept any disciples. Who would have thought that he would secretly take in Yuan Huai? Just what kind of monstrous talent was Yuan Huai to be able to catch the eye of the arrogant Vice Dean Shimen? At this moment, many people looked over suspiciously. They believed that Deputy Dean Shimen would never accept Yuan Huai. In the next moment, Yuan Huai proudly crooked his lips. His hand streaked across the sumaru pouch at his waist, and a feather appeared in his palm. This was Gongyu. This was simply shocking to the eyes of everyone present. The deacons of Qiyang University wore gong wood, the elders wore gong stone, and the Grand Elder wore gong jade. Only the principal and vice principal had the right to wear the palace feather. In the outer yard, there were two palace feathers. One was golden, and the other was silver. The silver feather in Yuan Huai's hand undoubtedly represented the arrival of Vice Principal Shimenhua. Outer Court Deacon Kai Shichong greets the Vice Principal. Outer Academy's Old Wang Dajuan greets the Vice Principal. Outer Yard disciples greet the Vice Principal. Voila! Whether it was the elders, deacons, or disciples, they all knelt in front of the palace feather in Yuan Huai's hand. Seeing Gong Yu is like seeing Shimenhua. Do you believe me now? Yuan Huai coldly put away the palace feather and muttered, "A bunch of dogs." In fact, this palace feather was lent to him by Shimenhua. Once Yuan Huai stepped into Qian University, it would have to be returned to its rightful owner. Yuan Huai was a specially recruited student. Like Xiaogua and Chen Wanqin, he did not need to pass the test. However, he liked to be in the limelight and liked to kill people even more. That was why he acted recklessly in the forest. He felt that he should trample all the contestants under his feet and make them worship and submit to him. Unexpectedly, he suffered a great loss at the hands of Qin Hao. Not only was his mark taken away, but he was also almost beaten to death. This was Yuan Huai's only humiliation. However, this humiliation would disappear when Qin Hao entered Qian University. Yuan Huai's master was the vice dean. He had 108 ways to make Qin Hao die without anyone knowing. If I'm not mistaken, you should be young Master Huai from the Yuan family of the Tianlong Kingdom, right? After kowtowing, Wang Dajuan stood up and asked carefully, "At least you have some eyesight." "That's right. I am Yuan Huai, the only grandson of the Grand Duke of Tianlong Nation, Yuan Huai." The pride on Yuan Huai's face became even more arrogant. His words shocked everyone once again. The Tianlong Kingdom was the most powerful kingdom in Western Liang. Aside from the three empires, it was the most powerful kingdom in Western Liang. It was even recognized by the world as the Fourth Empire. The Yuan family ruled over the Tianlong Kingdom. Other than the royal family, no one dared to provoke them. Even the royal family did not dare to provoke them. Yuan Huai was actually the only grandson of the Yuan family's patriarch, Yuan Huai. No wonder Vice Dean Shimen liked him. With his status, background, and strength, he was worthy of being called a peerless genius. If that's the case, then this lowly one has indeed meddled in other people's business. I hope young Master Huai won't blame me. Wang Dajuan said very politely. I knew it. For a genius like Senior Brother Huai to treat a stage 7 disciple like a pig is natural. Senior Brother Huai, I have admired you for a long time. I hope to stay by your side. Senior Brother Huai, my sister is also in the school. She likes you very much and has long wanted to be your maid. Senior Brother Huai, I have a top quality marrow cleansing pill here. Although it is not the best and maybe trash, I hope to give it to you free of charge. Senior Brother Huai, please have pity on me and take care of me in the future. I am willing to do anything for you. Immediately, regardless of whether it was a new student or a senior, they all surrounded Yuan Huai and bowed to him. They were like a group of dogs trying to please him. Yuan Huai was the vice dean's only disciple. Receiving Senior Brother Huai's care was equivalent to receiving the vice dean's care. Maybe if the vice dean was happy, he would also accept him as a disciple. Senior Brother Huai, I am just a pig or a dog. I hope you can be magnanimous and not hold a grudge against me. Just treat me like a black fart and let me go. Just now, that 7th level disciple was also fearfully begging for Dao. He no longer had the courage to be Yuan Huai's enemy. Senior Brother Huai, my name is Mount Ibaraki. I am the leader of the Outer Court's Red Daddy Association. I have 100 members under me, and each of them is strong. However, I feel that I am not worthy of being the leader. I want to give the position to you and let you lead us to conquer Qian University and become a #1 overlord. As a senior student of Qian University, even if he was ranked 8th on the Earth leaderboard, Mount Ibaraki still shamelessly bowed in front of Yuan Huai. Yuan Huai was the vice dean's disciple. He did not dare to offend him. I think I have seen your face before. Yuan Huai frowned slightly. He looked at Mount Ibaraki and felt that his face was familiar. However, he could not recall where he had seen it before. I have a common face. It is very common in the sea of people. That must be why Senior Brother Huai finds me familiar. I have to say that you are thousands or tens of thousands of times more handsome than me. You are a girl's dream lover and the nation's good husband. You and Huai could say something to Mount Ibaraki, which made him very surprised. He felt that his good days were coming. Haha, a girl's dream lover and the nation's good husband? Sorry, he doesn't deserve it. Yes, as my brother Hao's defeated opponent, he can only run away with his tail between his legs. Stunned, two disdainful voices were heard. The voices were extremely discordant and even harsh. After all, they were all fawning over you and Huai. How dare they mock him? Who is the reckless guy who despises our senior brother Huai? I will be the first to punish him. Mount Ibaraki glared at them. With a thud, he pulled out an axe from his crotch. It was time to perform in front of senior brother Huai. This was his opportunity to make a contribution. His eyes swept through the crowd, but he did not find anyone who despised you and Huai. At this time, the spiritual array in the center of the square fluctuated, and three figures gradually walked out. At this moment, everyone held their breath and looked at the spiritual array without blinking. The voices that despised you and Huai came from the spiritual array. They wanted to see just which fellow had eaten the heart of a bear and the guts of a leopard, daring to go against the awesome senior brother Huai. He even dared to go against the vice dean. As the light gradually dissipated from the spiritual array, three people appeared in front of everyone. The man was handsome, the woman was beautiful, and there was even a wretched young master in the middle. They were Qin Hao, Nalan Li, and Yi Shuian. Ha! You and Huai, long time no see. Is your hand better? Qin Hao put his hands behind his back and smiled at Yuan Huai, but his eyes were filled with killing intent. That day, Yuan Huai almost killed Brother Dog. Brother Dog was still healing in the space ring. Chapter 287. How about Nine Dan? It's you. After seeing who it was, Yuan Huai was so angry that he couldn't speak. How could he forget Qin Hao? It was Qin Hao who had taken away his 8-segment mark. It was Qin Hao who broke his wrist. It was Qin Hao again who had slapped him more than 100 times in public, making him lose all face. He mercifully let Qin Hao be his dog. However, Qin Hao was not grateful at all. Instead, he wanted to resist him. This was a humiliation that Yuan Huai would never forget for the rest of his life. If not for Qin Hao, he would have already become a 9th-level disciple. F***CK. Another group of people is here. The little girl is so pretty. Playboy is so wretched. The man in green in the middle is even more arrogant. He is looking down on senior brother Huai. The appearance of Qin Hao and the other two immediately became the focus of everyone present. Everyone pointed at them and discussed animatedly. It's you? Wang Dajuan was also stunned. The moment Qin Hao appeared, he quickly lowered his head to look at the portrait in his hand. The face on the portrait was exactly the same as Qin Hao's. Without a doubt, the young man in front of him was Old Man Ouyang's enemy. This made Wang Dajuan wild with joy. Qin Hao didn't die in the forest. He finally had the chance to serve the 10 Directions Academy. What? The reception elder of Qian University knows me? Qin Hao's gaze shifted and landed on Wang Dajuan. No, I don't know him. Wang Dajuan hurriedly rubbed his palm and crumpled the portrait into a ball of paper. He secretly circulated his yuan qi and burned it in his palm. At this moment, a sinister smile had already appeared on his face. How is it, Yuan Huai? Do you want to make a move now? Or do you want us to slowly compete in the academy? In this kind of situation, it's a little inappropriate for you to make a move. I'm afraid you don't have the courage to fight me. Otherwise, shall we practice now? Qin Hao's lips curled into a smile. Yuan Huai was trembling with anger. He really wanted to kill Qin Hao. He couldn't wait to kill him, but he really didn't dare to make a move. Look at you. You don't dare? Where's your courage? Where was his arrogance? Where's your arrogance? Fell into the foot basin? Forgive me for speaking bluntly, but your 8th segment imprint is indeed dog shit. Qin Hao took a step forward and said with a sharp look in his eyes. He wanted to use Yuan Huai's arrogant method to repay the other party and let him experience the feeling of being humiliated. Qin Hao's words made Yuan Huai even more furious. Who do you think you are? What qualifications do you have to look down on senior apprentice brother Huai's proud 8-segment mark? Mount Ibaraki said coldly as he stood up for Yuan Huai. That's right, senior brother Huai's 8-segment imprint is the highest. He is the young master of Tianlong Country's Yuan family and was accepted as a disciple by the vice principal. Not only did you look down on senior brother Huai, but you also dared to be rude to the vice principal. You must be tired of living. There are madmen every year, but there were especially many today. The appearance of a 6-segment disciple had already made Deacon Kai admit defeat. The 7th-segment disciple made Deacon Kai nod and bow. As a result, Yuan Huai came and looked at the 7th-segment disciple as if they were pigs. Now, it was even more outrageous. There was someone who looked down on Yuan Huai. At this moment, both freshmen and seniors were denouncing Qin Hao for Yuan Huai. In their view, Yuan Huai was fully deserving of the title and was the strongest among the freshmen. Yuan Huai's identity was prominent, and he had the vice principal's support. What was Qin Hao? What qualifications did he have to look down on A.O. Tian's 8th-segment imprint? They didn't think that Qin Hao's imprint would be higher than Yuan Huai's. An 8th-segment imprint was already the strongest among all the freshmen, unless Qin Hao's imprint reached the 9th segment. But that was absolutely impossible. Moreover, Yuan Huai's backer was the vice principal. Qin Hao dared to challenge Yuan Huai. He was simply overestimating himself. Did he not want to mingle in the outer court anymore? Unless Qin Hao also had a backer, and his backer had to be stronger than the vice principal. Looking at the entire outer court, only 2 people could be compared to the vice principal. The first person was the old principal. In fact, the old principal was the outer court's god. But he was elusive. Qin Hao definitely couldn't reach him. The other person was Elder Yun, who lived in White Cloud Peak. It had to be said that Elder Yun was young and beautiful, like a fairy sister. She was the dream lover of all the disciples in the outer court. Although she was young, her potential was endless. Even though she was also an elder, she wore a jade pendant, which was a palace jade and not a palace stone. Only the outer court's great elders were qualified to wear a palace jade. In other words, Elder Yuning Chong was the next outer court great elder that the old principal had secretly cultivated. With her ability, it was very likely that she would become the new principal in less than 3 years, and even be promoted to the inner court. Even the vice principal, Shimen Hua, was currently pursuing Elder Yun like a mad dog. If Qin Hao could build a relationship with Elder Yun, these outer court disciples would be willing to write their names backward. That was something that would never happen. Therefore, he was digging his own grave by going against Yuan Huai. He was not qualified. Qualified? Of course, an 8-segment imprint is really nothing. Yi Shuihan chuckled and kept winking at the surrounding junior sisters and senior sisters from Qiyang University. As he spoke, he had already raised his arm high, revealing his 7th-segment imprint. Hiss! There was a sound of gasps around. Just now, a 7th-segment disciple had appeared. Yi Shuihan was the second. In other words, he would become an outstanding disciple of the outer court. But a 7th-segment imprint was not qualified to be compared to Yuan Huai's 8th-segment imprint. Suddenly, some of the older students shook their heads. Yes, Brother Yi is right. An 8th-segment imprint is really nothing. Even a little girl like me can easily become a 7th-segment disciple. Then, Nalanli also raised her jade-like arm with a smile, revealing her 7th-segment imprint. Suddenly, there was a hissing sound. Another 7th-segment disciple. When did 7th-segment disciples become so common? It was a bit ridiculous. At this moment, a large number of male students looked at Nalan Li with eyes that could spit fire. Nalan Li was petite and cute, a beauty with a 7th-segment imprint. If she could be their girlfriend, they would be willing to give up 10 years of their life. Like the male students, the female students' eyes were filled with envy and even jealousy. Nalan Li was so beautiful and an outstanding 7th-segment disciple. Her future was immeasurable. It was only a matter of time before she surpassed the older students. Suddenly, Kai Shichong was overjoyed. There were 3 seventh segment disciples this year, more than in previous years. Qiyang University's freshmen this year would definitely surpass the other 3 schools. Little girl, your imprint is indeed high, much stronger than mine in the past. But you're still too weak. You shouldn't have spoken rudely to senior brother Huai. Mount Ibaraki laughed and acted very amiable. Naturally, he could not treat Nalan Li with a cold attitude like he treated Qin Hao. After all, Nalan Li was too beautiful. Mount Ibaraki was very eager to have her. In the past, Mount Ibaraki had exhausted all means and only managed to raise his imprint to the 6th segment. Nalan Li was stronger than him. Therefore, he had to persuade Nalan Li, hoping that she would not be an enemy of Yuan Huai. After all, a 7th segment imprint was not qualified. If a 7th segment imprint is not qualified, then what about a 9th segment? Qin Hao said coldly. Chapter 288. An imposter disciple 9th segment imprint? What a joke. Do you think I'm drinking cold water? 2 bowls, and he could reach 9th stage? The 9th segment imprint was unprecedented in the history of Qiyang University. All the disciples present had participated in the forest test, which was incomparably cruel. If he wanted to upgrade his imprint to Phase 9, he would have to kill a saint beast. Or he could steal at least 60% of the marks of the contestants. That was too difficult. It was no different from courting death. It was said that Senior A.O. Fei, the current #1 person in the cabinet of Qiyang University, also tried to challenge the 9-segment mark when he participated in the assessment. However, he still failed in the end. He first challenged a low-level Saint Beast and escaped with heavy injuries. Then, he tried to wantonly plunder the participants' imprints. Unfortunately, time was limited. He only had 10 short days, so he didn't have the chance. In the end, his imprint only rose to the peak of the 8th phase. The peak of the 8th stage became the highest record in Qiyang University. Back then, A.O. Fei Academy had become a 6-star Yuan ancestor as a new student. Currently, he was the #1 person in the cabinet. How could Qin Hao do something that even he couldn't do? In the eyes of all the students of Qiyang University, A.O. Fei was like a god. No one could break his record. At this moment, even Manager Kai and Wang Dajuan smiled at Qin Hao with disdain. He was simply overestimating himself. Why didn't he take a piss and look at his own face? But as Qin Hao raised his arms in front of him from behind, pa 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 pa, countless slaps landed on Manager Kai and Wang Dajuan's faces, as well as the mouths of all the seniors. 9th phase. A dazzling, sacred, and inviolable number appeared on Qin Hao's arm. It was as if a shocking bolt of lightning had struck everyone's heads, causing their bodies to tremble, and they were charred on the inside and tender on the outside. They rubbed their eyes so hard that their eyelids started to bleed. However, the 9 segments of the imprint were still dazzling. This was not an illusion. Oh my God, is it real or fake? 9-segment imprint. An unprecedented 9-segment imprint has appeared. Even Senior A.O. Fei didn't manage to do it back then. Now, someone has surpassed him. He broke A.O. Fei's record. An earth-shattering shout resounded in the square of the outer courtyard. It spread like a plague and instantly engulfed the entire outer courtyard. Am I blind? Is this AF * King God? Deacon Kai and Wang Dajuan's eyes were also wide open, and their mouths were wide open. Impossible. This is absolutely impossible. Mount Ibaraki was scared silly. Creak. Yuan Huai clenched his fists so tightly that his palms were bleeding. He gnashed his teeth in hatred. Sure enough, Qin Hao's imprint had risen to the 9th phase. That dazzling 9th phase imprint should have belonged to Yuan Huai. After the competition started, he killed the Yuan Zong experts on the 5 platforms in a frenzy. There were very few people who escaped the net. In just 3 days, he had swept through almost half of the contestants at an astonishing speed. In the end, he raised the imprint to the limit of the 8th phase. Who would have thought that Qin Hao would take advantage of it and snatch it away from him? During this period, Qin Hao was fully confident that he could easily raise the peak of the 8th phase imprint to the 9th phase. The unprecedented 9th phase disciple should have belonged to Yuan Huai. He hated it. He was furious. He wanted to jump up and kill someone. However, he was no match for Qin Hao. Even his demonic eye technique was useless against Qin Hao. What do you think? Lord Deacon, Lord Elder? Do I have the right to look down on Yuan Huai? Do I have the right to step into Qian University? Qin Hao lowered his arm and asked. Kai Shichong and Wang Dajuan still hadn't reacted. They were still staring blankly at him for a long time. Yes. His ancestor's 9-segment imprint has given me the greatest shock of my life. Young master, your imprint is too high, so high that I cannot make the decision. I must personally report this to the vice principal. Kai Shichong was about to kneel down in front of Qin Hao, a 9th phase disciple. How powerful was he? If the old guys in the inner yard knew about it, they would definitely snatch Qin Hao away and make him an inner yard disciple. Even if Kai Shichong had 10,000 guts, he wouldn't dare to neglect Qin Hao. Wait. At this time, Wang Dajuan also came back to his senses. His tone was cold as he looked at Qin Hao with a questioning gaze. The 9th phase imprint is unprecedented. I suspect that your imprint was obtained through improper means. You have to be interrogated by the elders. I said that there were so few qualified contestants this year. They must have been killed by you. These contestants were carefully selected by Qian University. They were brought here from various countries' martial arts competitions. You killed them just like that. You committed a heinous crime. I have the responsibility to uphold justice and kill a murderer like you. Wang Dajuan had received benefits from Old Man Ouyang. Naturally, he wouldn't give Qin Hao a chance to enter Qian University. As long as he killed Qin Hao now, he could leave Qian University and get rid of his status as a low-level elder. He could become a high-level elder in Shifu Academy. That's right, his imprint was stolen from me. The 9th phase imprint should belong to me, and I am the unprecedented 9th phase disciple. With a thunderous roar, Yuan Huai almost lost his mind and roared at the sky. He said that after the start of the competition, he risked his life and killed several low-level demonic beasts to raise his imprint to the peak of the 8th phase. Qin Hao was hiding in the dark. He took advantage of Yuan Huai's injury and shamelessly stole his 8th phase imprint. And this imprint should have belonged to Yuan Huai. He killed his fellow disciples and plundered them. He's a sinister villain who only knows how to hide in the dark and shoot arrows. I suggest that you kill Qin Hao immediately and let me absorb the 9th phase imprint. This is also my master's idea. Elder Wang, you won't disobey my master's idea, right? Yuan Huai sneered at Wang Dajuan. There was an undisguised threat in his words. Offending Yuan Huai was the same as offending the vice dean. Although he didn't have the ability to fight with Qin Hao, Wang Dajuan had the ability to kill Qin Hao. Of course, I don't think this kid is a good person. Maybe he didn't even come from the 4 Nations martial arts competition. He must be a fake. Good, you scoundrel. Since you killed a disciple of my Scarlet Sun Academy, I'll kill you right now to avenge my disciple. Die. Wang Dajuan had received benefits from Old Man Ouyang and wanted to kill Qin Hao. Now that he had Yuan Huai's support, it gave him a legitimate excuse to make a move. Immediately, a ball of orange yuan qi erupted. Wang Dajuan was a saint-level expert. Although he was just a trash mortal saint, he was far from someone Qin Hao could fight against. Without any hesitation, he pressed his palm toward Qin Hao's head. If this palm fell, Qin Hao would die without a burial place. Let's see who dares. Stop. Yi Shuaihan and Nailin Li immediately blocked him. Unfortunately, their strength was too low. How could they be Wang Dajuan's opponent? Wang Dajuan wanted to kill Qin Hao. He was about to go crazy. With just his aura, he directly sent Yi Shuaihan and Nailin Li flying, seriously injuring them. Chapter 289. Chapter 289. The Jade was stolen. Who says I'm not a contestant from the 4 Nations martial arts tournament? At this critical moment, Qin Hao was forced to take out the white jade token. This token was personally given to Qin Hao by Yuning Chong before they entered the forest. During the Four Nations martial arts tournament, Yuning Chong was very interested in Qin Hao's cultivation method. She was also proficient in inscription patterns, so she had the idea of studying cultivation methods with Qin Hao. She gave the token to Qin Hao so that after Qin Hao entered the academy, it would be convenient for him to go to White Cloud Peak to find her. At this critical moment, Qin Hao raised the white jade token above his head. Immediately, Old Man Wang's old eyes widened, and he immediately withdrew his palm. He had only missed the white jade token by half an inch. If it was hit, the white jade token would definitely shatter. "Do you recognize this item?" Qin Hao said solemnly. "I was born in the poorest Jiang kingdom in the west. It was Sister Yuning Chong who brought me here and gave me this jade as a gift." Crack! It was as if a bolt of lightning had struck before his eyes. Deacon Kai, Wang Dajuan, and the other students were once again dazzled. Their mouths were wide open in disbelief. The white jade token was an item that Elder Yin always carried with him. It was a palace jade and symbolized the identity of the Outer Yard Great Elder. Sure enough, Qin Hao had a backer. But wasn't this background a little too terrifying? As everyone knew, Yuning Chong was as cold as ice. She never allowed strangers to get close to her, especially men. Not to mention the male disciples. Even the vice principal Shiman Hua had to stand at the foot of the White Cloud Peak and wait for half a day to see Elder Yin. Qin Hao, on the other hand, had a white jade token. It could be seen that his relationship with Elder Yin was not ordinary. But if they knew that Qin Hao had hugged Yin Ingchang's slender waist at the martial arts competition, interlocked their fingers, and rolled back and forth on the ground, their eyeballs would probably fall to the ground. If Shiman Hua found out about this, he might even kill Qin Hao. I have seen this token before. It is indeed Elder Yun's token. Unbelievable. He actually got the white jade token. Looks like his 9-segment mark isn't just for show. There must be something special about it. The way the surrounding students looked at Qin Hao had changed. They no longer doubted him, nor did they dare to show a trace of dissatisfaction. All of them became respectful. With Elder Yun's support, although it was not as impressive as Yuan Huai's, who had the Vice Dean's support, it was not much worse. In the future, Qin Hao would definitely soar in the outer yard. These disciples could not afford to offend Yuan Huai, and similarly, they could not afford to offend Qin Hao. Elder Wang, U.C. Kai Shichong, had a bitter expression. In fact, he was also very curious as to why Wang Dajuan suddenly tried to kill Qin Hao. However, you won't be able to kill him now. If Qin Hao loses even half a strand of his hair, Yuning Chong will definitely turn the outer court upside down. Indeed, Wang Dajuan's eyelids began to twitch fiercely, and the yuan qi on his body also disappeared. Just now, when he saw the white jade token, he immediately withdrew his hand. Obviously, he was wary of Yun Ingchang's strength. It's just a broken token. What's there to be proud of? I have the palace feather. Wang Dajuan, listen to my orders. Immediately kill Qin Hao. Yuan Huai would not give up until he killed Qin Hao. Immediately, he took out the silver feather from his Sumuru bag again. He wanted to see if his master was more powerful, or that Elder Yun was more powerful. Since the Vice Dean's palace feather is here, the old man has no choice but to obey. And I suspect that the white jade token in this thief's hand was stolen by him. Elder Yun will not hand over the palace feather. Good, you dare to steal the palace jade of the outer court's grand elder and blaspheme the beautiful Elder Yun. Why don't you roll over to the old man's palm and die? Wang Dajuan hardened his heart. Orange yuan qi erupted once again, enveloping his body. He directly made Qin Haoku a cuckold for stealing. In fact, no one here believed Wang Dajuan's words. It was Qin Hao's first time at Qian University, and he did not have the ability to steal the palace jade from Yuning Chong, who was a profound sage-level expert. It had to be said that Wang Dajuan was really shameless. He raised his hand once again, and orange yuan qi condensed in his palm. In any case, he was about to leave Qian University. With the support of Shifeng Academy in the future, Wang Dajuan was not afraid of Yuning Chang's revenge. You've gone too far. Qin Hao roared, and powerful blue yuan qi spread out from his body. At this moment, heaven and earth were moved. The surrounding students were also shocked. Qin Hao was indeed a Ming Yuanzhou. His aura was indeed much stronger than Yuan Huai's. All signs showed that he was better than Yuan Huai. But unfortunately, Wang Dajun had the support of Yuan Huai, and Yuan Huai had the Vice Dean's Palace Jade. Qin Hao still had to die. At this moment, many students felt sorry for Qin Hao. You're just an ant, yet you dare to be an enemy of the old man. You're overestimating yourself. Seeing that Qin Hao dared to resist him, Wang Dajun, who was an elder, felt that he had lost face. His heart darkened, and he mercilessly slapped at Qin Hao. Qin Hao was also prepared to release the Red Lotus Fire. Don't want to die? Then let's die together. I'd rather die in battle than be trampled on and bullied by others. Stop. Stop for the old man. Wang Dajun, you dare? Several loud shouts sounded at the same time. The voices came from afar, but in an instant, they reverberated in everyone's ears. Suddenly, one figure after another streaked across the sky, flying over from several peaks in the outer yard. In the blink of an eye, they were in front of Qin Hao and Wang Dajun. They were a group of gray-haired old men. Strong orange primordial qi surged on each of them. Their primordial qi was stronger than Wang Dajun's. They were the elders of the outer yard. In fact, when Wang Dajun released his killing intent for the first time, they had already sensed it and spread their consciousness to the square. Especially when they found out that Qin Hao had the white jade token. The elders were shocked. Now, Wang Dajun had ignored the authority of the first elder, Yining Chong, and wanted to kill him. Naturally, the other elders would not agree. After all, Qin Hao was a disciple of Qiyang University. Oh, my little Li, why are you lying on the ground? Who hurt you like this? While they were talking, an old man wearing a golden robe noticed Nalan Li, who was lying on the ground in the crowd. The old man in the golden robe suddenly opened his eyes wide, gritting his teeth in hatred. His gaze could kill all the disciples present. Woo-woo, Grandpa Muddlehead, it's that elder Wang, he wants to kill me. Nalan Li cried in grievance. Wang Dajun, F***CK, your father's balls. Immediately, the old man in the golden robe was like an angry bear. His body flashed, and he was already on Wang Dajun's face. He slapped Wang Dajun to the ground and punched and kicked Wang Dajun, turning him into a pig's head. Wang Dajun was wearing a white robe and was a low-level elder. The old man in the golden robe, nicknamed Muddlehead, was a high-level elder of Qiyang University and the only grandmaster of spiritual array in the outer yard. He was much stronger than Wang Dajun. Brother Muddlehead, why did you hit me? Wang Dajun could not resist at all in the hands of Muddlehead. He cried with a bloody nose and a swollen face. She is my specially enrolled student, my personal disciple of spiritual array. You dare to hit my disciple? Muddlehead pointed at Nalan Li, and he even had the intention to kill Wang Dajun. In fact, Nalan Li was the same as Yuan Huai. She was also a specially enrolled student. Chapter 290. Of course it was related. He begged and coaxed before Nalan Li agreed to acknowledge him as her master. At that moment, the confused old man was so happy that he jumped 3 feet high. His crotch almost cracked. Originally, Nalan Li did not need to accept the forced assessment. Her sister, Naransu, had once participated in the forced selection. Nalan Li felt that she should be as brave as her sister. But now, the beloved disciple of the confused old man, little Nalan Li, had been beaten to the ground by Wang Dajun. She simply did not put her father in her eyes. Aya, young master, why are you also lying on the ground? Oh my God, are you about to die? Following the confused old man, another cry sounded. A page boy rushed out of the crowd and ran to Yi Shuhin's side in a panic. He fed the pills in his hand into Yi Shuhin's mouth as if his life depended on it. One jar after another, it was as sharp as drinking cold water. This scene made the hearts of the audience tremble wildly, their faces filled with grief and indignation. What a wastrel! In the page boy's hand was a top-grade blood recovery elixir. and a top-grade vitality elixir. High-grade heart stabilizing elixir, just like that. It was poured into his mouth, so much so that the page boy wished he could stuff all the bottles into Yi Xuan's mouth. Xuehan, who hurt you so badly? Behind the page boy, another old man wearing a golden robe came out. His aura was overflowing. The yuan qi in his hand was also pouring into Yi Xuan's body. He was afraid that Yi Xuehan would die. The second old man in the golden robe was recognized by many of the contestants present. Qin Hao also recognized him. It was the old man Huang who supervised platform number 3. At that time, when Yi Xuehan spat into the groove of the ugly stone, old man Huang did not blame him at all. There was even a trace of respect and complaint on his face. It was that old bastard surnamed Wang who broke all my bones. You know, my strength is low. I'm actually a trash. I don't have the slightest ability to protect myself. He's a saint-level master, and this guy almost killed me. Ouch, it hurts so much. It seems that I'm not lucky enough to know my own secret, and I'm not lucky enough to find my mother. Sob, sob. Father, did you see your son suffer? Mother, if you were still alive, would you teach old man Huang a lesson and accuse him of failing to protect us? Yi Xuehan wailed miserably and rolled on the ground. In order to show his miserable state, he shamelessly punched his chest and spat out a mouthful of blood. The blood smeared all over his face, and he even used his hand to stick his hair into a messy mess. It was as if he had been gang-raped by dozens of hooligans. In front of thousands of pairs of eyes, he was directing and acting on his own, committing all sorts of atrocities. Tragic. How miserable. But in fact, Yi Xuehan wasn't injured at all. He had a lot of life-saving treasures on his body, and he wore 7 or 8 sets of armor alone. Although he was as thin as a wolf, he had 3 sets of inner armor and 3 sets of outer armor. Even the material of his underwear had reached the level of a low-grade weapon. Not to mention a mere 7-star mortal sage like Wang Dajuan. Even if it was a heavenly saint powerhouse, if he wanted to kill Yi Xuehan with a single blow, he would have to be injured. In fact, Old Man Huang naturally knew what kind of character Yi Xuehan was, and he also knew that he had a lot of treasures on him. Even so, at this moment, his heart was fiercely twitching. It was all because of one word. Tragic. Yi Xuehan's cries were tragic, and his appearance was even more tragic. Ouch, I'm so angry. You dog Wang Dajuan, I'm gonna F***king kill you. Old Man Huang angrily roared, and his incomparably dense vitality was released. At this moment, his strength as a 4-star profound sage erupted. He was actually 1 star stronger than Yining Chong. With a thud, Old Man Huang pulled out a sledgehammer from his crotch. It was 3 meters long, and the head of the hammer was as big as a water tank. The first blow was aimed at Wang Dajuan's head. Wang Dajuan was only a weak 7-star mortal sage. How could he be a match for a 4-star profound sage? With this blow, he would definitely turn into a meat patty. Senior Brother Huang, you mustn't. Senior Brother Huang, calm down. Senior Brother Huang, quickly put the sledgehammer back. Immediately, more than a dozen old men pulled Old Man Huang back. After all, Wang Dajuan was an elder of the outer court. Even if he was a low-level elder, he couldn't be killed with a single blow. If he was killed by Old Man Huang, he would also be severely punished, and he might even be expelled from Qian University. Senior Brother Huang, why are you risking your life to kill me? I didn't offend you. Wang Dajuan kowtowed with tears in his eyes, begging for Old Man Huang's forgiveness. Old Man Huang was one of the few profound sages in the outer court. He had quite a lot of seniority and was from the same generation as the old dean. Even if he smashed Wang Dajuan to death with his sledgehammer, the old dean would probably turn a blind eye to it. He is the son of my former master. In other words, I'm an old servant of his family. You only need to remember that his surname is Yi Xuehan. If Yi Xuehan dies, it won't be good for anyone. To put it bluntly, if he loses even half a hair, the Luoshui Empire will collapse, and Qian University will cease to exist. Don't doubt my words. Otherwise, even the vice dean of the cabinet won't be able to protect you, a son of a bitch who ate an expired cucumber. Old Man Huang cursed angrily as he swung the huge hammer in his hand, creating gusts of wind. Even if he was pulled back by more than a dozen elders, he still almost hit Wang Dajuan with his sledgehammer. At this moment, Wang Dajuan wanted to commit suicide. He could have offended anyone, but he just had to offend the only master of spirit arrays in the outer court, the muddle-headed old man. He could have offended anyone, but he just had to offend Old Man Huang, who had a sledgehammer in his pants. Old Man Huang was the fiercest and most hot-tempered person in the entire outer court. Even the old dean was somewhat afraid of him. I was wrong. I, Wang Dajuan, was blind. I didn't recognize the disciple of the muddle-headed old man, nor did I recognize the identity of young Master Yi. I really deserved to die. But what does this have to do with Qin Hao? Wang Dajuan was also extremely unconvinced. He never thought of hurting Yi Shuihan and Nalan Li. They ran out of their own accord and blocked the attack for Qin Hao. Of course it has something to do with it. Brother Hao protected me all the way in the forest, cared for me, and protected me. He saved me from the hands of evil people many times. He is my brother. Moreover, Master, Brother Hao's research on spirit arrays is quite advanced. I'll learn a lot of spirit arrays from him. If you have the chance, you must humbly ask him for advice. Also, in fact, my 7-segment mark was improved by Brother Hao He. Nalan Li smiled cheekily, patted the dust off her body, and got up as if nothing had happened. In fact, she had gathered a protective spirit array on her body in advance just now, so she had suffered very little damage. But her words made everyone sigh. Qin Hao was an unprecedented 9-segment disciple. Not only did he have the support of Elder Yun, but he was also a spirit array master. And what did the little girl say just now? They didn't hear it wrong, right? The little girl actually asked the only elder of spirit arrays in the outer court of Qiyang University to humbly ask for advice from Qin Hao. How advanced was his ancestor Qin Hao's spirit arrays? What was even more terrifying was that the 7-segment mark on Nalan Li's body was given out by Qin Hao. Why didn't he give him a 7-segment mark if there was such a good thing? Chapter 291. I've wronged you. Oh, then if I have time, old man would really like to ask for advice. The confused old man couldn't help but take a few more glances at Qin Hao. Of course, he didn't think that Qin Hao's ability in array formations would be stronger than his. In his eyes, Qin Hao's array formations were only superficial and couldn't enter his eyes at all. The key was that Qin Hao had taken good care of Nalan Li along the way and saved her several times. He even helped Nalan Li raise the mark to the 7th stage. The confused old man would remember this favor in his heart. After thinking for a moment, he nodded and said, "If you have some aptitude in spirit arrays, old man will allow you to stay in the 3rd summit and become a spirit array apprentice. Of course, an apprentice is only an apprentice. I won't take you in as a disciple." The confused old man's disciple could only be Nalan Li. It was already a great fortune for him to let Qin Hao sneak a peek at him while he cast the array formation. The confused old man's words immediately caused a commotion in the surroundings. Many disciples looked at Qin Hao with envy. Even if they couldn't become the confused elder's disciple, it was still a great honor to watch from the side. "Thank you, kid." Qin Hao cupped his hands slightly and appeared very calm. "TSK, a mere spirit array is nothing to be proud of. Boss, you don't have to be humble. Your technique is definitely not inferior to the confused elders. It's not just spiritual arrays. My boss is a master of hundreds of skills and knows everything. His archery skills are especially mysterious. Ever since I learned 2 archery skills, taking a person's head from 10 steps away is as easy as taking something out of my pocket." "Ha ha ha. Wonderful." Yi Shuihan licked his lips and secretly shook his head proudly. His words were filled with admiration for Qin Hao. Moreover, my mark was also given to me by my boss. "So, Old Man Huang, do you understand what I mean?" Yi Shuihan gave Old Man Huang a look. In other words, Qin Hao was his boss. In the future, he had to pay attention to him and take care of him. "Hiss, Yi Shuihan's words once again made everyone reveal a surprised expression. Not only did Qin Hao understand spiritual arrays, but his archery skills were also unfathomable. He only taught Yi Shuihan 2 moves, and he was able to take a person's head from 10 steps away as easily as taking something out of his pocket. What was even more surprising was that Yi Shuihan's 7-segment imprint was also given to him by Qin Hao. What kind of monster was he? His own imprint was at the 9th phase, and he had to survive in the cruel forest with 2 burdens. He also raised the imprints of the 2 slippery bottles to the 7th phase. Qin Hao's ability was ridiculously strong. Thank you. Old Man Huang expressed his gratitude to Qin Hao. He didn't say much, but his eyes were sincere. At the very least, he was more sincere than the muddle-headed old man. It was not hard to see that he would definitely take care of Qin Hao in the future. In that case, come to the 4th peak when you have time. I want to personally see your archery skills. If I'm satisfied, I'm willing to accept you as my disciple. A middle-aged man in his 40s walked out and looked at Qin Hao. The middle-aged man was also wearing a golden robe, and his aura was quite steady. In particular, his big hands were very special. They were broad, powerful, and covered with calluses. His arms were also much thicker than an ordinary person's. It could be seen that the middle-aged man's wrist and arm strength were absolutely amazing. Hiss! Another series of gasps could be heard. The golden-robed middle-aged man was the only archery elder in the outer court. His name was Xie Tsanghu, and he was a 1-star profound sage. Although his strength was not high, his archery skills were unparalleled among all the elders. Looking at his intention, it seemed that he wanted to accept Qin Hao as his disciple. Immediately, the surrounding disciples looked at Qin Hao with even more envy. He had just arrived at the academy and was already admired by many elders. These disciples were envious, but there was also a trace of jealousy in their hearts, especially Yuan Huai, whose jealousy and anger were written all over his face. His master was much nobler and more powerful than all the elders present. Seeing so many people praising Qin Hao, he felt very unhappy. If you want to praise someone, you should praise me, Yuan Huai. However, no matter how unhappy he was, he couldn't do anything to Qin Hao. Now that the confused old man Huang, and Xie Tsanghu were supporting Qin Hao, even if Wang Dajuan was given 100 guts, he wouldn't dare to make a move. However, it's an indisputable fact that this kid stole Elder Yun's Jade Palace. His behavior is vile, and his conduct is improper. He is not qualified to be a disciple of our academy. I think that we should kick him out of Qiyang University. Wang Dajuan got up from the ground and looked at Qin Hao with a trembling face. He gritted his teeth. Today, he had lost all his face in front of all the disciples of the outer court. It was all because of Qin Hao. He couldn't kill Qin Hao now, but that didn't mean that he wouldn't have a chance in the future. If Qin Hao was kicked out, then his chance would come. Killing Qin Hao would be as easy as killing an ant. Wang Dajuan, are you blind? Did you see Qin Hao steal Elder Yun's Jade Palace with your own eyes? Old Man Huang shouted angrily. His anger had just been extinguished, but it burned again. Although I didn't see it with my own eyes, who can guarantee that Qin Hao didn't steal the Jade Palace? Unless you go to Baiyun Peak and ask Elder Yun to come down and testify for Qin Hao. Wang Dajuan sneered. Yining Chang's Baiyun Peak was sacred. Even the vice dean didn't dare to step foot on it. You just old man Huang. How dare you invade Yining Chang's territory? What's the use of being powerful? You don't even dare to go. Today, Qin Hao must be kicked out. At this moment, Wang Dajuan regained his composure. He felt that he was very capable. What's the use of having a high-level elder? He couldn't do anything. How useless. In fact, many disciples, including the other elders, sighed. Indeed, no one dared to trespass on Baiyun Peak. As for Yuning Chang showing up in person, that was absolutely impossible. 5 days ago, the news of Yun Ing Chang's cultivation had spread throughout the outer court. At this moment, she was in seclusion. How about it? I'm kicking Qin Hao out of Qiyang University now. Does anyone have any objections? Let's see who can stop me, Wang Dajuan. Wang Dajun and Yuan Huai looked at each other and smiled sinisterly. No one could stop their arrogance anymore. I have an objection. Stunned, a female voice sounded. It was very pleasant to the ears, like the chirping of an oriole. Everyone's heart trembled at the same time. They couldn't help but look at the source of the voice. The moment he turned his head, Wang Dajun suddenly had a bad feeling. When his gaze landed, his eyes widened even more. He saw a figure in white walking over. Her face was otherworldly, and her temperament was like that of a goddess. Everyone's heart pounded. Even Yuan Huai couldn't help but swallow. Beautiful, too beautiful, a peerless beauty rarely seen in the world. The person who came was naturally Yuning Chang. When she appeared, everyone was in disbelief. Elder Yun had always disliked noise and rarely showed her face in public. Moreover, wasn't she in seclusion? Why did she come down from the sacred Baiyun Peak? Although they were surprised, many male students' faces instantly turned red. The goddess of their dreams had appeared. However, what was even more surprising was that Yuning Chang had a smile on her face. Her smile was like a spring breeze, but her gaze ignored everyone present. She actually walked through the crowd and went directly to Qin Hao's side. She reached out a fair hand and touched Qin Hao's face. She wiped the dust off his face. Sorry for the inconvenience. Crack. Everyone's eyes almost fell out of their sockets. This. Chapter 292. Disqualification, but her actions were so intimate with Qin Hao. It simply overturned everyone's worldview. They wondered if the Yuning Chang in front of them was a fake. In fact, the relationship between Qin Hao and Yuning Chang was not something that they understood. Not to mention wiping the dust off his face. Yuning Chang's waist was already hugged by Qin Hao. He even held her hands, and the two of them were rolling on the ground. During the martial arts competition, Yuning Chang was almost defeated by Old Man Ouyang. It was Qin Hao's unexpected intrusion that allowed her to turn the tables. The friendship they had established in the face of danger was beyond the ordinary relationship between an elder and a disciple. It was reasonable that others did not understand it. It had to be said that Yuning Chang's action of wiping Qin Hao's face had indeed shocked everyone. Yuning Chang herself was even more shocked. She saw that Qin Hao's face had become even more determined. She could imagine that the forest trial had indeed improved Qin Hao. What shocked Yuning Chang the most was the 9-stage mark on Qin Hao's arm. 9 segments of the imprint. This was unprecedented in the history of Qiyang University. A few years ago, when Yuning Chang was still not an elder, she had also participated in the forest assessment. At that time, her mark had only been raised to the peak of the 6th phase, not the 7th. The peak of the 6th phase made her feel very proud. However, Qin Hao's 9-segment imprint could no longer be described as arrogant. It was simply terrifying. I didn't disappoint Big Sister Yin, did I? Qin Hao smiled faintly. You have once again surprised me. Yuning Chang also smiled faintly. Qin Hao's excellence was far beyond Yuning Chang's imagination. 9 segments of the imprint, just thinking about it was inconceivable. This time, the whole Qiyang University would be shocked. It even spread to the cabinet. Cough, cough. Elder Yun, aren't you cultivating in seclusion? Why did he come to the square of the outer court after leaving White Cloud Peak? This kid stole your Jade Palace. It's a heinous crime. Why don't you let the old man execute him on the spot? Wang Dajun quickly put on a smile. In fact, he had already guessed that Yuning Chang had come here for Qin Hao. That was what terrified him the most. At this moment, he had to firmly pin the blame on Qin Hao. Shut up. Yuning Chang directly cut Wang Dajun off. Elegantly and angrily, she said, Who said that my Jade Palace was stolen by Qin Hao? If you have the ability, come to my White Cloud Peak and try to steal one. Let's see if you can live to see the sun tomorrow. Yuning Chang's words were full of authority. He wanted to steal the jade from her, a 3-star profound sage? To put it bluntly, even Wang Dajun did not have this ability. Yuning Chang was indeed in seclusion, and she was at a critical juncture. During the battle with Old Man Ouyang that day, Qin Hao had unexpectedly rushed over and combined their primordial fires into one. This gave her an epiphany. and her strength was faintly showing signs of a breakthrough. Now that Qin Hao was being slandered, she had no choice but to stand up for Qin Hao at the critical juncture of her breakthrough. Otherwise, Qin Hao would most likely be expelled from Qian University. Elder Yun, you don't have to be embarrassed. Actually, losing the Jade Palace is not a big deal for you. After all, the Vice Dean is taking care of you. Wang Dajun was not going to let it go. He had to put the blame on Qin Hao's face. In fact, he even mentioned Ouyang Hua as he spoke. Wang Dajun, you are over 60 years old. As an elder, do you have any shame? If you dare to talk nonsense again, do you believe that I won't kill you right now? Yining Chong did not expect Wang Dajun to be so shameless. She was indeed the one who gave the Jade Palace to Qin Hao. Immediately, a ball of surging primordial qi wreaked havoc from her body, and spots of fire appeared on Yuning Chang's body. She raised her jade-like hand too. This scene scared Wang Dajun to death. Elder Yun, please calm down. You will definitely testify for Qin Hao. This is enough to prove that he is not an immoral person. It is also enough to prove that he is a contestant from the Four Nations martial arts tournament and is qualified to be a disciple of our school. At this time, Old Man Huang stood up and said, killing Wang Dajun was not a big military matter. If this hindered Yun Ing Chang's path to promotion, the gains would not make up for the losses. After all, Yining Chong had endless potential. All of you listen up. I brought Qin Hao here from Jiang State. His Jade Palace was also given to him by me. If anyone dares to slander him, doubt him, or drive him out of Qian University, they're going against me, Yining Chong. Even if Ouyang Hua is here, I will never lower my head. Yining Chong shouted domineeringly. Her eyes swept across the group of elders, and no one dared to look directly at her. Qin Hao is not only a disciple of Qian University, but also my brother from now on. Yining Chong. Wang Dajun, let Qin Hao enter Qian University. Do you have any objections? Yining Chang's cold eyes were fixed on Wang Dajun. Qin Hao had saved her life. She would protect him until the end. No. Wang Dajun did not dare to say no, unless he wanted to die immediately. Very good. Yining Chong nodded and said with satisfaction, in that case, according to the school's rules, let's promote Qin Hao to a core disciple of the outer court. When Vice Principal Ouyang returns, we will discuss how to send Qin Hao to the inner court. Old Man Huang said, in 2 months, the 4 major schools would hold a new star competition. At that time, Mad Dragon School, Star Moon School, and Shifang School would compete with Qian University. The old principal was not around. Ouyang Hua was currently discussing this matter with the other 3 deans. If Qin Hao wanted to be sent to the inner court, he had to get the letter of appointment from Ouyang Hua. If we let Qin Hao become a core disciple, it will be hard to convince the public, right? As far as I know, his 9-segment seal was obtained through illegal means. He is suspected of cheating. I think that he should not become a core disciple of the outer court. He should live with the ordinary disciples. Wang Dajun hated Qin Hao to the core. Even if he could not stop Qin Hao from entering Qian University, he wanted to deprive him of the right to become a core disciple. Yining Chong was obviously furious. Wang Dajun had been targeting Qin Hao all this time. Elder Yun, don't be angry. Elder Wang is right. Qin Hao stole the seal when I was not paying attention. He is indeed vicious and only knows how to play dirty tricks. He is no match for me in a face-to-face battle. The right to become a core disciple of the outer court should belong to me. Yuan Huai. Who does Qin Hao think he is? Once my master returns, I will personally report this matter to him. Yuan Huai said coldly. The corner of his mouth twisted in disdain. Therefore, during this period, Qin Hao can only be an ordinary disciple and receive a piece of lower-grade, mysterious crystal. Gongyu is in my hands now. My words are also my master's. If Elder Yin is not satisfied, you can go and reason with my master. Why? Qin Hao clenched his fists in an instant. His eyes were bloodshot. It was normal to steal other people's seals in the forced assessment. Qin Hao did not break the rules. Yuan Huai relied on the Gongyu given by Ouyang Hua to oppress others and collude with Wang Dajun. Qin Hao, a core disciple, lived in a common house like an ordinary disciple, and received a piece of mysterious crystal. This treatment was simply an insult to Dendi. You have robbed as many people as I have, and killed more people than I have. Are you saying that only you are allowed to steal other people's seals, and no one is allowed to steal yours? If you have the ability, let's fight again. I don't care about being a core disciple, let alone a core disciple. If I lose, I will leave Qian University immediately. Do you dare to accept? Qin Hao took a step forward. His fighting spirit was surging. Chapter 293. 10 days later, there was a battle. That's right. Whether it's a mule or a horse, we'll know once you fight with my boss. Yuan Huai, do you dare to fight? Yi Shuihan took a step forward and stood shoulder to shoulder with Qin Hao, boosting Qin Hao's momentum. You keep saying that my brother Hao is not as good as you. Who ran away in the forest with his tail between his legs? Who was it that was slapped in public? Who was it that was beaten black and blue? Who was it that was beaten black and blue? Yuan Huai, I really admire your courage to slander my brother Hao. Nayland Li felt that Qin Hao's treatment was unfair. As a core disciple, not only did he not receive the respect he deserved, he was even trampled on. Using martial arts to determine the winner and loser to compete for the position of core disciple. This is very fair. I agree. Old man Huang nodded. I agree. I agree too. Immediately, a large number of elders chose to stand behind Yuning Chong. Usually, Ouyang Hua didn't care about them at all. Yuning Chong, on the other hand, was well-behaved and sensible. She was very respectful to these elders. They would definitely help First Elder Yuning Chong. To be honest, many elders were unwilling to accept the fact that Qin Hao's disciple with a 9th level mark could only receive a piece of garbage low-grade, glazed crystal every month. Yuan Huai, I'll ask you one last time. I'll also give you a chance to turn the tables. Do you dare to fight me? Qin Hao shouted and took another step forward. He was almost in front of Yuan Huai. His aura also caused Yuan Huai to retreat with a fearful expression. The horrifying scene of Qin Hao counterattacking was still vivid in his mind. To this day, Yuan Huai still couldn't figure out how Qin Hao had advanced from a 7-star Yuan master to an origin ancestor. Moreover, his eye technique was completely useless against Qin Hao. The ocular technique was Yuan Huai's strongest killing move. It was no exaggeration to say that his ocular technique could defeat a 4-star Yuan ancestor. However, it didn't work on Qin Hao. Qin Hao was a shadow in Yuan Huai's heart. He felt that Qin Hao was not a human, but a monster. He had no courage to fight with Qin Hao. Revolt, all of them? Who dares to provoke Vice Principal Ouyang's Gongyu? Are you guys planning to commit murder? Are you trying to frame the poor young Master Huai? Young Master Huai is the personal disciple of the Vice Principal and also the grandson of the Sky Dragon Nation's Grand Duke. He is the only heir of a Yuan family. He has a respectable status. How could he compete with a lowly commoner like Qin Hao? Qin Hao is not qualified. The moment I saw Qin Hao, I knew that he was up to no good. He must be a despicable person with no real ability. I will fight in Senior Brother Huai's place. Qin Hao, do you dare to fight with Mount Ibaraki? Elder Wang immediately brought up Ouyang Hua. Many seniors spoke up for Yuan Huai in order to please him. Mount Ibaraki even used their status as the 8th on the Earth list to bully Qin Hao, who had just entered Qian University. Mount Ibaraki was a 5-star Yuan ancestor. Although they were currently stronger than Yuan Huai, they knew that Yuan Huai would surpass them in less than 2 months. Yuan Huai's master was the vice principal, so he had a large amount of cultivation resources in the outer yard. If they could help Yuan Huai defeat Qin Hao, Mount Ibaraki would definitely benefit greatly. He could see that Yuan Huai was indeed quite afraid of Qin Hao. This meant that Yuan Huai was actually no match for Qin Hao. Then, let Mount Ibaraki become Yuan Huai's lackey and bite Qin Hao to death. It had to be said that Mount Ibaraki's words attracted the disdain of many freshmen. As a senior who had cultivated in the inner yard for so long, he bullied the freshman the moment he showed his face. He was simply shameless. Hihi, what do you think, Qin Hao? Why don't you dare to speak? Are you afraid, coward? Tui, you don't even dare to fight me. So how dare you challenge Senior Brother Huai? You overestimate yourself. Yin Baiwan immediately raised his head proudly. He finally showed off, and he felt that he was in the limelight. Not only could he win the hearts of many junior girls, but he could also scare the boys. More importantly, he was fighting for Yuan Huai, so Yuan Huai would definitely not treat him badly. In reality, this was indeed the case. Mount Ibaraki's actions satisfied Yuan Huai very much. He nodded and said, "I've been feeling unwell recently. I've caught a cold, so I can't fight with others. Qin Hao took advantage of my illness to provoke me. This is simply intolerable, and he doesn't find it embarrassing. To tell you the truth, I'm stronger than Junior Brother Yin. Junior Brother Yin couldn't even block one of my attacks. So how could Qin Hao defeat me? That's absolutely impossible." Yuan Huai also laughed. As he spoke, he gave Mount Ibaraki a look that said, "You're not bad." Instantly, Mount Ibaraki became even more agitated and couldn't wait to rush up and chop Qin Hao to death. "Senior, is it? 5-star Yuan Zone? Very well. We'll meet in the arena in 10 days, regardless of life and death." Qin Hao secretly clenched his fists. He was now a 1-star Yuan Zone. Although he had the ability to challenge those of a higher level, he wasn't confident that he could defeat Mount Ibaraki. After Qin Hao broke through to Sky Yuan Zone, the Immortal Samsara technique urgently needed to be improved. Once the Immortal Samsara technique was improved, killing Mount Ibaraki would be as easy as snapping a finger. But now wasn't the time to fight. "Ha, kid, you admit defeat and want to run away, right? Who knows where you'll be in 10 days? You'll definitely run out of Qiyang University with your tail between your legs. That must be what you're thinking." Cut the crap. If you want to fight, let's fight now. Mount Ibaraki became even more arrogant. He raised his fist and waved it in front of Qin Hao, as if he could easily kill Qin Hao with one blow. In his eyes, Qin Hao was just a dog. "It's okay. 10 days it is. I believe that with Elder Yun's status, Qin Hao will definitely not run away with his tail between his legs. If that's really the case, then Elder Yun must be blind," Wang Dajuan said with a smile, putting his hands behind his back. This battle wasn't urgent. He needed a reasonable excuse to get rid of Qin Hao. Of course, he didn't think that Qin Hao could defeat Mount Ibaraki. If Qin Hao could win, then he, Wang Dajuan, was raised by a prostitute. However, during this period, Qin Hao can't become a core disciple and can't enjoy the benefits of a core disciple. He's only worthy of a piece of lower-grade, mysterious crystal. If you want to gain our recognition, then prove it with your strength and use your fist to regain your dignity. As long as you defeat Mount Ibaraki in the arena in 10 days, I'll ask Vice Dean Ouyang for the core disciple's letter of appointment. How about it? Wang Dajuan tempted. Yining Chong wanted to stop him. How could Qin Hao be Mount Ibaraki's opponent? 10 days was too short. Even if she didn't fight Mount Ibaraki, she had the ability to restore Qin Hao's core disciple status. Qin Hao didn't need to ask for trouble. Okay, Qin Hao didn't give Yining Chong a chance to stop him. He nodded and agreed. A man should have such hot-bloodedness and heroism. As a man, he had to seek justice for himself and wash away the dirty water of being suspected and slandered. Only 10 days? More than enough. In fact, Qin Hao had the ability to kill Yin Baishan in 3 days. After all, he had sufficient elixirs provided by Yi Shuaihan in his infinite space ring. One of them was a Dragon Grandmaster elixir that could instantly upgrade Qin Hao to a 2-star Yuan Zone. Chapter 294. The Place Where You Die. He had already stepped into the Origin Ancestor realm and could activate the 4th stage of the indestructible Samsara technique. Let's go, young Master Huai. 10 days later, let us witness the end of an ant seeking its own destruction. Wang Dajuan immediately led the way for Yuan Huai with a smile. If he can't even defeat Junior Brother Yin, then there's no way he could be my opponent. If I didn't catch a cold, I would have crushed him to death right now. In fact, in my eyes, Qin Hao is just a dog. Yuan Huai put on an arrogant front. He didn't even blush when he lied. He put his hands behind his back and followed behind Wang Dajuan. 10 days later, don't be so scared that you don't dare to show your face. At that time, if you embarrass Elder Yin, I will use your blood to claim credit from Senior Brother Huai. Mount Ibaraki waved his axe threateningly in front of Qin Hao's nose before putting it back into his Sumeru pouch. With a wave of his hand, he left with the members of Red Daddy Society. He had only taken a few steps when he suddenly stopped. He looked around and suddenly realized that he had forgotten something. He had come to pick up his cousin, Yin Wanshan. Now that the sun had set, the test was over. Qin Hao and Yishui Han were the last batch of people to walk out of the spirit array. However, Yin Wanshan was nowhere to be seen. This gave Mount Ibaraki an ominous feeling. According to the news from his clan, his cousin possessed the strength of an 8-star master. Even though he was nowhere near as strong as Yuan Huai, he was still not too weak compared to the other candidates. At the very least, he should be able to obtain a 5-segment imprint. But why didn't his cousin appear? Wanshan? Wanshan, where are you? Junior brothers and sisters, have you ever seen a person with a face as handsome as mine and a figure as mighty as mine? He cultivates the battle axe technique and comes from the rock sect of the Dali Kingdom. His name is Yin Wanshan. Mount Ibaraki looked around and asked the other contestants. Everyone shook their heads in unison. There were more than 2,000 contestants who came to take the test. They were scattered all over the forest. In the end, only 600 or so people passed the test. They had never seen Yin Wanshan, so they probably died in the forest. However, there were a few people who cowered and hid behind him. These people were members of Wild Daddy Gang. Of course, they knew who Yin Wanshan was. Yin Wanshan was already dead. He died at the feet of Yuan Huai. How dare they say it out loud? They still wanted to stay in the outer court in the future, so they definitely wouldn't meddle in other people's business. Yin Wanshan is your cousin? There's no need to look for him. He's already dead. At this moment, Qin Hao said expressionlessly. Just now, he felt that Mount Ibaraki's face was very familiar. Now that he heard him mention it, he suddenly remembered that after Yin Wanshan was seriously injured by the dog spirit, he did use a cousin to threaten Qin Hao. He said that his cousin was ranked 8th on the earth roll in the outer court, and that his strength was monstrous. He would make Qin Hao die a horrible death. He didn't expect it to be Mount Ibaraki in front of him. At that time, Qin Hao had the idea of killing Yin Wanshan. Unfortunately, he was trampled to death by Yuan Huai. My cousin is dead? Mount Ibaraki was stunned. Then his eyes widened and his face became distorted. His anger erupted like a volcano. Yin Wanshan was the only son of the Rock Faction's leader. Mount Ibaraki's father died early when he was young. He was brought up by his uncle and was like a brother to Yin Wanshan. When his uncle sent him a letter, he repeatedly reminded him to take good care of Yin Wanshan. He had already decided to let his cousin be the deputy leader of Red Daddy Gang. Now his cousin was dead. Who is it? Who killed my cousin? Yin Wanshan roared like a beast. His eyes were bloodshot as he stared at Qin Hao. He gritted his teeth and said, "You killed him. I really wanted to kill him." Unfortunately, the person who gave him the final blow was Yuan Huai, your master, Qin Hao said coldly. Impossible. Young Master Huai is merciful. He would be heartbroken if he stepped on an ant. How could he kill my cousin? Your cousin's subordinates are here. You will know if it was Yuan Huai who killed him. Qin Hao pointed at the group of people who used to be members of Wild Daddy Gang. Tell me, was my cousin killed by Qin Hao? Yin Baishan rushed forward and grabbed someone's collar with his big hand. His whole body was lifted off the ground. Senior Brother Yin, our leader, was indeed killed by Senior Brother Huai. The person was terrified. He struggled for a while and quickly replied, "Slap." Mount Ibaraki slapped the person to the ground. You really don't know how to talk. You should say that it was Qin Hao who killed him. You're trying to cover Qin Hao's face with sh*t. Yuan Huai was the vice principal's disciple. Even if Mount Ibaraki was given 10,000 guts, he wouldn't dare to take revenge. Oh, I remember now. No wonder Junior Brother Baishan was so familiar. So you have a cousin who looks exactly like you. I admit that I killed your cousin, but before I killed him, he was already seriously injured. Even his penis was broken. He was better off dead. So I was merciful and relieved him of his pain. I didn't want him to suffer anymore. Yuan Huai shook his head and sighed. I can only blame myself for being too kind. I can't bear to see others in pain. But the person who really hurt your cousin was Qin Hao. You know who you want to take revenge on. At this point, Yuan Huai gave Mount Ibaraki a threatening look. His look made Mount Ibaraki tremble. With a thud, he knelt in front of Yuan Huai. He was so touched that tears streamed down his face. Thank you, senior brother Huai, for relieving my cousin of his pain. He will be deeply grateful to you. Even if he works like a cow or a horse in his next life, he won't be able to repay your kindness. In fact, it's my cousin's good fortune that he died in your hands. You really killed well. You killed wonderfully. You killed until the croaks cried out. Crack! Mount Ibaraki's actions made everyone's eyes pop out. Yuan Huai was his enemy who killed his cousin. It was fine if he didn't take revenge, but he still shamelessly knelt down to thank him. What a coward! What a *king coward! But the disciples also knew that Yuan Huai's master was the vice principal. Mount Ibaraki couldn't take revenge. It was better to betray his cousin and get closer to Yuan Huai. It's fine. Getting rid of evil, carrying water for widows, helping grannies cross the road have always been my hobbies. Relieving others of their pain is also the joy of my life. If you are in pain one day, I can help you get rid of it. Yuan Huai walked over and patted Mount Ibaraki's shoulder. He secretly looked in Qin Hao's direction. Mount Ibaraki obviously knew what Yuan Huai was thinking. He immediately jumped up and angrily pointed at Qin Hao. You despicable person. Not only did you steal senior brother Huai's mark, but you also kill my cousin. You must have taken a liking to my cousin's mark. My cousin was a good person. He liked to read since he was young and liked to fish. His dream was to become a teacher, to educate people, and to nurture talents for the world. But, you madman, you destroyed a good person's future. I, Mount Ibaraki, swear that if I don't kill Qin Hao, I'm not human. 10 days later, the arena will be your burial ground. Puffed. Shameless coward. Yi Shuihan couldn't stand it anymore and spat at him. Mount Ibaraki didn't dare to take revenge on the real enemy who killed his cousin. Instead, he wanted to thank him. But he poured dirty water on Qin Hao. Will the arena be my burial ground? Let's wait and see. Qin Hao snorted. Mount Ibaraki wanted to kill him. Why wouldn't he want to kill him too? All of this would naturally become clear in 10 days. Don't run, kid. Just wait and see. Mount Ibaraki snorted heavily and turned to leave with his men. Chapter 295. I'm willing Yuan Huai smirked at Qin Hao. His expression seemed to say, how can you fight with me? The earth-rolled disciples listen to me. Elder Wang also listens to me. The vice principal is my master. I can get whatever I want in the outer court. I'm also the grandson of the Grand Duke of Tianlong Country. Even if my strength is not as good as yours, you can't do anything to me. Even as a core disciple, you're still bullied by me. You can't even get the treatment of a core disciple. You only deserve a piece of trash low-grade Qian crystal. This is the result of going against me, Yuan Huai. My family is prominent. You're a country bumpkin with a rotten life. You want to fight with me, the second generation of a rich official? You're doomed to die. Sigh. I was kind enough to persuade someone to be my dog, but he was stubborn and lost the chance to enjoy life. Now he's pitifully getting a piece of Qian crystal. It's too late to regret. Yuan Huai carried Shuang on his back, laughing proudly at the heavens. Bad young master is the vice principal's disciple. It's your honor to be your dog. Let's go, young master Huai. As a level 8 disciple, you can get 50 low-grade Qian crystals every month and live in the vice principal's courtyard. You're not someone who can only get one piece of Qian crystal trash. Elder Wang nodded and bowed, once again leading the way for Yuan Huai. This scene made many disciples shake their heads. Qin Hao was a core disciple, but he didn't get the respect he deserved. He was even bullied and humiliated. He was even questioned and slandered. On the other hand, Yuan Huai was not as strong as Qin Hao, and his rank was lower than Qin Hao, but he could get 50 pieces of Qian crystals. 50 pieces. Ordinary disciples could only get one piece of Qian crystal every month. The amount Yuan Huai received was 50 times that of others. Even the deacons of the outer court could only get 50 pieces a month. His status as a disciple was comparable to the deacons. If Qin Hao didn't have any accidents, he could get at least 80 pieces of Xian crystals. However, he could only obtain 1 piece now. Too many people felt indignant for Qin Hao, but there was nothing they could do. This was because Yuan Huai's teacher was the vice dean. Creak! Qin Hao clenched his fists so tightly that they were trembling. Looking at the backs of the two, he said in a low voice, Yuan Huai, Wang Dajuan, I, Qin Hao, will remember this grudge. Before he came to Qiang University, he had promised the drunkard that he would become the best disciple in the outer yard. Qin Hao did it, but he didn't expect such an outcome. His intuition told him that Wang Dajuan was doing this on purpose. There was no enmity between Qin Hao and Wang Dajuan. Qin Hao felt that unless Wang Dajuan was an idiot or had taken benefit from someone else and was working for someone else, Wang Dajuan wouldn't be able to do such a thing. Obviously, as an outer court elder, Wang Dajuan was not an idiot. That would be the second type. He had taken benefits from someone else. But no matter who it was, if Qin Hao found out who was behind this, he would skin them alive. You brat, you're too reckless. You shouldn't have agreed to Mount Ibaraki. Alas, what a pity, what a pity. Many elders shook their heads and left. Old Man Huang and the confused old man also left with Yi Shuihan and Nailan Li. Yi Shuihan and Nailan Li were stage 7 disciples. They received 35 pieces of mysterious crystals a month and also had high-end courtyards to live in. But Qin Hao, as a core disciple, only received 1 piece of mysterious crystal and lived in the most ordinary public house. This house was also very important to disciples. Good areas had the support of spirit arrays, so cultivation would be twice the result with half the effort. For example, in Vice Dean Ouyang Hua's courtyard, the cultivation speed was 10 times that of ordinary disciples. Yuan Huai's strength would double in less than a month if he moved in. Moreover, he still had 50 pieces of mysterious crystals. In less than 10 days, the core disciple status would completely leave Qin Hao and be transferred to Yuan Huai. The difference in treatment was too big. Brother, you really shouldn't have agreed to them. Yining Chong took a deep breath. She was very depressed. Mount Ibaraki was ranked 8th on the Earth leaderboard. He was an old student and had the strength of a 5-star Yuan ancestor. Qin Hao was only a 1-star Yuan ancestor. It was very difficult for a Yuan ancestor to level up. Ordinary disciples would find it difficult to break through 1 star after cultivating for a year. In just 10 days, how could Qin Hao be Mount Ibaraki's opponent? According to Yun Ing Chang's understanding, Mount Ibaraki's strength was not limited to this. It was said that he was already preparing to challenge the 7th on the Earth leaderboard next month. The 7th on the Earth leaderboard had the strength of a 6-star Yuan ancestor. All signs indicated that Mount Ibaraki was very likely a 6-star Yuan ancestor. If Qin Hao fought with him, he would undoubtedly be courting death. Moreover, Qin Hao had been temporarily stripped of his core disciple status. Without resources, it would be even more difficult for him to cultivate. But no matter what, I will help you. Since you call me sister, if I don't help you, who will? If they don't give you black crystals, I will. If they don't give you a house to live in, I will give it to you. From today onwards, you will follow me to Baiyun Peak. Also, these 200 lower black crystals are your reward. Every month, I will provide all my salary to you for your cultivation. Sister will help you defeat Mount Ibaraki. Yining Chong waved her hand. Instantly, a pile of shiny stones appeared in front of Qin Hao. The 200 lower black crystals on the ground were won by Yuning Chong from Su Tianlei during the martial arts competition. In fact, it was also Qin Hao's credit. It was only right to return them to Qin Hao. Rumble. A thunderbolt blasted into everyone's heads, making their bodies tremble. In the distance, Yuan Huai, who was about to leave, almost spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground. 200 black crystals. How could they be given away so easily? Were they drinking cold water? Moreover, Yining Chong even asked Qin how to move to Baiyun Peak. As everyone knew, Baiyun Peak's spiritual chi was not much worse than the Vice Dean's courtyard. More importantly, it was Yuning Chang's private residence. Usually, even the Vice Dean did not have the fortune to set foot on the peak, let alone live with Yuning Chang. Yuning Chang was a peerless beauty. Qin Hao and her were alone. This was intolerable. In an instant, the disciples who were leaving all stopped and looked at Qin Hao with fire in their eyes. They no longer sympathized with Qin Hao. They even wished that Yuan Huai could kill Qin Hao immediately. Qin Hao did not enjoy the treatment of a core disciple, but now his treatment was higher than that of an ordinary elder. As soon as he showed up, he got 200 black crystals, and he lived with the peerless beauty, Elder Yun, in Baiyun Peak. I don't accept this. Yuan Huai turned back and roared hoarsely. He was proud of his 50 black crystals just now, but Qin Hao surpassed him in an instant. I don't accept this either. As the first elder, you don't care about your image. You provided your black crystals to a dirty disciple and let him live in Baiyun Peak. Shameless. This is not appropriate. Wang Dajuan did not finish his words. Bang! A strand of primordial chi was swept out by Yuning Chang and slapped heavily on Wang Dajuan's face. Wang Dajuan's body flew 10 meters high and fell to the ground like a dog. 2 yellow teeth were spat out. My Baiyun Peak can be given to whoever I want. My black crystals can be given to whoever I want. Wang Dajuan, aren't you stretching your hand too far? Meddling in other people's business? Believe it or not, I will destroy you right now. Chapter 296. Challenge the medical Tower. Yuning Chang had always kept herself clean. How could she be humiliated by Wang Dajuan? Wang Dajuan had poured a few basins of dirty water on Qin Hao, and now he wanted to pour dirty water on Yuning Chang. He was really tired of living. As a great elder who had been personally groomed by the old dean, Yuning Chang had the power to deal with Wang Dajuan. Let's go. Wang Dajuan didn't dare to stay any longer. He quickly got up, pulled Yuan Huai, and fled in panic. The vice president was not here, so no one was a match for Yuning Chang. Are you doing this for my own good, or are you making enemies for me? Qin Hao shook his head and smiled helplessly in the face of the many disciples' fiery gazes. He rolled up his sleeves and put the 200 Xian crystals into his spatial ring. He really needed the mysterious crystals to improve his strength. Moreover, there was no need to be polite with Yuning Chang. Rejecting her would only hurt Yun Ing Chang's feelings. Of course, it's for your own good. If anyone in the outer court dares to touch you, they'll have to go through me first. Yun Ing Chang waved her little fist like a little girl. She was indeed very protective of her own people. She then smiled and said, "Don't be so smug. Big sister is giving you benefits because I have a favor to ask of you." Immediately, she briefly explained the problem of the breakthrough. Qin Hao's method of fusing the essence fires was not ordinary. Based on intuition, she felt that Qin Hao's ability to control fire was extremely strong. As an inscription master, you know the Tao of inscription, and you also know how to control fire. Living in my white cloud peak can be considered as working. Yuning Chang laughed. She wanted Qin Hao to stay by her side because she wanted him to help her. Oh my God, you know inscriptions? He knows how to control fire? Could he be an alchemist? Just now, the muddle-headed elder said that he even humbly asked him for guidance on array formations. What kind of monster is Qin Hao? Many disciples had already fainted. All right, Qin Hao nodded. If he could do something for his sister, there was no reason for him to refuse. In fact, Qin Hao was more than happy to help. Gong Yu was still in his hands, so it would be very convenient for him to enter and exit the medicine tower in the outer courtyard in the future. The medical tower was the place where medicinal herbs were stored in the outer courtyard. Qin Hao wanted to resume his old profession and do business as an alchemist. It would not be easy to defeat Mount Ibaraki. 200 mysterious crystals were far from enough. He needed more mysterious crystals. It would be better to sell some elixirs to the other disciples in exchange for Xian crystals. 10 days later, the battle between Qin Hao and Mount Ibaraki was unavoidable. Whether it was winning back the dignity of a core disciple or while getting the letter of appointment from Ouyang-hua. It was still Mount Ibaraki who was seeking revenge for his dead cousin. Both sides had reached a point where they would not rest until one of them was dead. However, Qin Hao did not listen to Yuning Chang's words and stayed in Baiyun Peak. It wasn't that he didn't want to, but he wanted to avoid arousing suspicion. Qin Hao was a bachelor. He didn't care about his reputation. Yuning Chang was 20 years old and beautiful. She didn't have anyone she liked. She was also the great elder of the outer courtyard in name. Her status was extraordinary. Qin Hao had to take Yuning Chang's reputation into consideration. After all, it was not good for a man and a woman to be alone in a room. Although she didn't stay in Baiyun Peak, she stayed with Yi Shuihan. Yi Shuihan was an outstanding Stage 7 disciple. Naturally, his residence was not bad. Although the spiritual array that enveloped the courtyard could not compare to the 10 times faster cultivation speed in the Weistein's courtyard, it could still increase cultivation speed by 8 times compared to a commonplace for ordinary disciples. Qin Hao did not lack that. Moreover, he had a way to increase the spirit energy in Yi Shuihan's courtyard. Immediately, Qin Hao set up 3 small spirit gathering arrays in the courtyard. With his sky origin sex ability, the power of the spiritual array was not as strong as that of the elders. Counting the 3 small spirit gathering arrays, there were a total of 4 arrays in the sky above Yi Shuihan's courtyard. This cultivation speed was no different from 10 times the normal cultivation speed. After settling his residence, Qin Hao began to increase his level. He took the Dragon Grandmaster pill and successfully broke through to 2-star sky origin sect. Then, he cultivated the indestructible samsara technique. After occupying Yi Shuihan's bed, Qin Hao sat cross-legged and closed his eyes to explore the god-level technique in his mind. The first stage of the indestructible samsara technique, body refinement. The second stage, qi condensation. The third stage, dragon whirlpool technique. These 4 stages were called the Yuan armor technique. As everyone knew, Yuan Qi would be produced in the Yuan gathering realm. Yuan masters could release their Yuan Qi and form a protective aura that could cause great damage to the enemy. After reaching the sky origin sect, the protective aura would be stronger. The blue Yuan Qi would form a thin film on the surface of the body, similar to a piece of clothing. The thin film was called Yuan armor by Yuan masters. Its defensive power was shocking. Because of this, Yuan masters could kill Yuan masters as easily as killing ants. Yuan masters could not break this Yuan armor at all. However, the indestructible samsara technique could upgrade the Yuan armor to the level of armor. If Qin Hao cultivated the Yuan armor technique, his defensive power would be several times stronger than those of the same level. Great! Focusing his mind, Qin Hao began to cultivate. Mottled blue Yuan Qi gradually appeared on the surface of his body. He had already figured out the principle of the Yuan armor technique. The Dragon Whirlpool technique strengthened and liquefied Yuan Qi. The Yuan armor technique solidified Yuan Qi on the basis of liquefaction, making Yuan Qi as hard as a rock and unstoppable. He quickly upgraded the Dragon Whirlpool technique from Stage 7 to perfection. Then, Qin Hao spent a lot of time and successfully cultivated the Yuan armor technique to level 1. As usual, the first level was more difficult. It would be much easier to cultivate further. Therefore, it was much easier to cultivate the Yuan armor technique to level 2. The sun rose and set. 6 days later, Qin Hao reached 2-star sky origin sect, and his Yuan armor technique had also been upgraded to level 2. Opening his closed eyes, a glint flashed across them. Qin Hao smiled confidently and slowly got off the bed. With a thought, buzz! A layer of turbulent qi waves spiraled around Qin Hao's body, like a swimming dragon. This was the 9-level Dragon Whirlpool technique. Within the flames of the Dragon Whirlpool technique, a layer of faint blue light spots appeared on the surface of Qin Hao's body. These light spots became stronger and stronger. Although they were illusory, if one looked carefully, they were in the shape of an armor. With my strength as a 2-star sky origin sect, the addition of the Dragon Whirlpool technique and Yuan armor technique, killing a 4-star Sky Origin sect would be a piece of cake. I would also be invincible against a 5-star Sky Origin sect. Clenching his fist, Qin Hao nodded and dispersed the flames around him. The strong blue yuan qi was also absorbed into his body in an instant. Qin Hao had a certain level of confidence in the battle with Mount Ibaraki in 4 days. However, he didn't have a 100% chance of winning. He still needed to improve his strength further. It's time to make a trip to the medical tower. According to Yuning Chang's understanding, Mount Ibaraki had most likely concealed his strength and was actually a 6-star Sky Origin sect. It would be dangerous for Qin Hao to fight with him. If he wanted to defeat Mount Ibaraki, he would have to go to the medical tower to retrieve a large amount of herbs and refine the elixirs he needed. Ranked 8th on the Earth roll, right? Sorry, I don't care. I want to be first on the Earth roll. Qin Hao didn't want to simply defeat Mount Ibaraki in the arena. He wanted to completely crush him and establish his footing in this battle to intimidate all the Outer Yard disciples. He wanted to use his actions to prove to everyone that no one could take his core disciple away from him. With 200 mysterious crystals in a spatial ring and a large amount of elixirs, Qin Hao was confident that he could break through to a 5-star or even a 6-star Sky Origin sect in the last 4 days. At that time, he would be able to go against a 9-star Sky Origin sect. Was 10 days a short time? Sorry, it seemed to be too long. You all think that I will definitely lose, right? Sorry, I will definitely win. Mount Ibaraki was ranked 8th on the Earth roll. Yes, I don't care at all. I, Qin Hao, want to be first on the Earth roll. It's mine, and I will take it all back. Chapter 297. Li Xianfeng Kuei. After leaving the courtyard, he headed straight for the medicine tower. Speaking of the medicine tower, it was an important place in the outer court. It was also a place that depended on one's looks. The medicine tower was divided into 3 levels. The first floor was the place where ordinary disciples could exchange for medicinal herbs. It was also known as the trash area. Only the top 10 disciples on the Earth board could enter the second level. It was the superior area for medicinal herbs. Only the top 3 experts on the Earth ranking had the qualifications to enter the third level. It was a top-tier area. Qin Hao had to go to the supreme grade area to look for herbs. However, he was currently a new disciple, and his identity was not recognized. Entering the supreme grade area was simply a dream. Fortunately, he had Yuning Chang's Jade Palace. With Elder Sister's Jade Palace in my hands, I will be unimpeded. While walking, Qin Hao was thinking about refining weapons into his body. Back then, the reason he was able to defeat Yuan Huai was because the Great Void Cauldron had refined the broken weapons in his spatial ring. Ever since it absorbed the Red Lotus fire, the Great Void Cauldron had regained some of its functions as a divine artifact. Releasing the Golden Bell protection was one of them, but refining into one's body was the second magical ability he had unlocked. This made Qin Hao very surprised and pleasantly surprised. If it was possible, he wanted to go to the weapons storage pavilion in the outer court and see if he could borrow a few hundred weapons from the old man in the weapons storage pavilion. Of course, Qin Hao also knew that he was dreaming. Even if Yuning Chang came in person, it was impossible for her to lend so many weapons. Furthermore, it was borrowing but not returning. Pung! Just as he reached the entrance of the medical tower, he suddenly bumped into a person. To be precise, it was not Qin Hao who bumped into the other party, but someone else who bumped into Qin Hao. This person was tall and sturdy. His face was pitch black, and he looked fierce and ferocious, with a somewhat barbaric appearance. His name was He Kuei, nicknamed Li Xianfeng in the outer court. It had to be said that this person was very strong. He was ranked 9th on the Earth leaderboard, slightly weaker than Mount Ibaraki. What was even more coincidental was that he and Du Ziding came from the same country and were brothers from the same sect. Just like Mount Ibaraki, he had also received a letter from the sect in advance, asking him to take good care of Du Ziding. At that time, Li Xianfeng and He Kuei swore that once their junior brother came to the outer court, they would take him to eat, drink, and pick up beautiful girls. In the end, he received shocking news. Du Zeding died in the forest. He was killed by a guy named Qin Hao. This was the fault of his ancestors. It was simply unforgivable. In fact, Li Xianfeng and He Kuei had been searching for Qin Hao in the outer court for many days. After they caught him, they cut him into 1,000 pieces. In the end, he found out that Qin Hao had moved into Yi Shuhen's courtyard. Yi Shuhen's courtyard was an excellent area for outstanding disciples. Old Man Huang was in charge of it. He didn't dare to barge in and kill. Therefore, he had been guarding outside, hoping that Qin Hao would come out so that he could kill him directly. Unfortunately, Qin Hao had been in seclusion for 6 days. This made Li Xianfeng and He Kuei suffer greatly. He even squatted in the boys' toilet. He felt that with his dark skin, no one would notice him if he squatted in the toilet at night. This Qin Hao had to go to the toilet, right? In the end, he didn't manage to squat there. He squatted in the toilet for 5 days and 5 nights. He Kuei couldn't take it anymore and decided to make a trip to the medical tower to get some medicinal herbs to nourish his body. He also learned about the battle between Qin Hao and Mount Ibaraki. He felt that he should improve his strength. If Mount Ibaraki couldn't kill Qin Hao, then he would definitely kill Qin Hao in the arena. With this thought in mind, he came over happily. He didn't expect to bump into someone. Looking at the young man in front of him, he was quite fair and had an extraordinary temperament. He also looked a little unfamiliar. He was most likely a new student. In an instant, He Kuei became jealous, because he was too dark, while Qin Hao was so fair and handsome. Since he was a new student, he could vent his anger by beating him up. "You dog, don't you have eyes?" He Kuei said coldly. Qin Hao looked up indifferently and frowned. This person bumped into him for no reason. It was fine if he didn't apologize, but he even slandered him. Moreover, he was too dark. If it was night, who would notice him? A good dog doesn't block the way. Qin Hao said, and prepared to step into the medical tower. He couldn't be bothered to talk nonsense with this kind of "I'm so awesome" guy. Qin hadn't talked nonsense with He Kuei, but it didn't mean that He Kuei didn't talk nonsense with Qin Hao. In fact, He Kuei had been squatting in the toilet for so many days and had a belly full of anger. He urgently needed to vent. "Stop right there, you ignorant thing. Who allowed you to be so fair? Who gave you the guts to be so fair? And you dare to be disrespectful to me? I can't help but want to beat you up." He Kuei's face was ferocious as he rubbed his fists. His reasons for finding fault were so special. Just because someone was fairer than him, he wanted to beat them up. But in fact, as the 9th on the Earth leaderboard, no one in the entire outer court dared to look down on He Kuei. Those guys who were ranked at the top of the Earth leaderboard also didn't compare He Kuei to a dog. Qin Hao said that he was a good dog, doesn't block the way. It had already ignited He Kuei's anger. "I didn't expect to encounter such an interesting thing as soon as I came to the medical tower. I didn't come in vain today." Yeah, that muscular man who is darker than charcoal seems to be Li Xianfeng, He Kuei, the other one who is fair and looks a little unfamiliar. "You should be a new student." This kid ate a bear's heart and leopard's guts. He dares to clash with He Kuei, who is ranked 9th on the Earth leaderboard. He's simply putting his head on his crotch and doesn't want to live anymore. Sai, a newborn calf, is not afraid of a tiger. He doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Because it was at the entrance of the medical tower, many disciples quickly gathered. They were all here to exchange for medicinal herbs. They pointed at Qin Hao and He Kuei. There were many outer court disciples, at least a few thousand people. Obviously, no one present recognized Qin Hao. Qin Hao naturally heard the discussions of the crowd. He secretly thought that this He Kuei in front of him should have some skills, since he was ranked 9th on the Earth leaderboard. He'd better not provoke him. Otherwise, Qin Hao wouldn't mind killing the 9th on the Earth leaderboard before starting the war with Mount Ibaraki. "You're only ranked 9th on the Earth leaderboard. You're all brawn and no brains. Don't come out to scare people in broad daylight. Get lost," Qin Hao said coldly. He never looked at He Kuei again. This made the anger in He Kuei's heart burn even more fiercely. It also made the surrounding students suck in a breath of cold air. At the same time, they broke out in cold sweat for Qin Hao. Good heavens, Qin Hao's tone was really big. Kuei was ranked 9th on the Earth leaderboard. How could Li Xuanfeng's name be undeserved? He actually wasn't put in Qin Hao's eyes. He even mocked Kuei for being too dark and not coming out during the day. If Kuei didn't come out during the day, who would be able to see his existence at night? At this moment, many students firmly believed that Qin Hao was about to become a cripple. Being too dark had always been a scar in Kuei's heart. Now, this scar was sprinkled with a layer of salt by Qin Hao. Very well, you dare to be so presumptuous towards me. I will make you pay a painful price for what you said just now. Congratulations, you have successfully aroused my desire to kill. Immediately, Kuei's primordial qi became restless, and a blue flame rapidly rose. He was about to make a move on Qin Hao. At this moment, a cough sounded. Cough! The medical tower is an important place. Private fights are not allowed. Otherwise, you'll have to bear the consequences. Chapter 298. Come on, let's take a gamble. Kuei immediately stopped, dispersed his energy, and glanced at the medicine tower with fear. There was a guardian in the medicine tower, known as Yao Lao. Yao Lao was neither a deacon nor an elder in the outer court. He had no special identity and was only a supervisor. However, no one dared to underestimate his strength. 2 years ago, an elder who had reached the level of a 9-star mortal saint came to get medicine. Relying on his status as an elder, he refused to hand over the mystical crystals after taking the medicine, and even spoke arrogantly to Yao Lao. In the end, he was crippled by Yao Lao on the spot. In the end, even the old dean did not pursue the matter. This matter also became a shadow in the hearts of everyone in the outer court. No one dared to be presumptuous in front of Yao Lao. Count yourself lucky, but I will definitely not let this go. Just wait and see. Kuei said unwillingly. Currently, he could not teach Qin Hao a lesson in the medicine tower, but Qin Hao could not hide in the medicine tower forever. Once he came out, I will beat you to death immediately and let you have a taste of my fist to comfort my tanned face's dignity. Kuei clenched his fist threateningly at Qin Hao. His words were very dangerous. Qin Hao didn't bother with him. He was simply a mad dog. To put it bluntly, Kuei was too inferior. Because he was too tanned, he would bear grudges against others for being fair. Walking toward the medicine tower, Qin Hao still had important things to do after collecting the herbs. A rookie like you who just came to the academy is at best only fit to collect waste in the garbage area on the first floor of the medicine tower. Unlike me, who can enter the superior area to collect gold. The superior area is the best place to accumulate herbs. Kuei, am not someone you can compare to. Seeing that Qin Hao was about to enter the medicine tower, Kuei did not hide his sarcasm. According to the rules, as the 9th on the Earth leaderboard, he was fully qualified to enter the 2nd floor of the medicine tower. Qin Hao is not qualified. Is that so? If I walk into the 2nd floor today, are you going to slap yourself 3 times? Qin Hao stopped in his tracks and turned around coldly. Ha ha ha. Towards this, Kuei couldn't help but laugh. A new student like you wants to enter the 2nd floor? That's absolutely impossible. You're overestimating yourself. If you don't take a piss and look at your own face, do you think you are the vice dean's disciple, Yuan Huai? I've seen senior brother Huai before. He's very handsome, especially that crooked mouth of his which is quite coquettish. This person's spirit and senior brother Huai's spirit are world apart. Like an ant. Immediately, many students began to mock Qin Hao. If a new student wanted to enter the 2nd floor of the medicine tower, the sun would rise from the west. Even senior students like them weren't qualified to enter the 2nd floor. So what was Qin Hao worth? In that case, do you dare to make a bet with me? Qin Hao turned around and sneered at the crowd. Originally, he didn't want to be nosy, but these people looked down on the new student. Should the new student be looked down upon by the senior students and be wantonly insulted by them? You're just a rookie. What qualifications do you have to bet with us? Yes, a new student can only receive 1 mysterious crystal a month. Do you want to show off without money? Hurry up and get out of here. The medicine tower is not a place for trash like you. You're making a fool of yourself. Many senior students also waved their hands at Qin Hao with disdain. The new student was too poor to be qualified to bet with them. But the next moment, they opened their mouths in surprise. Qin Hao waved his hand, and a brilliance appeared in front of him. After the brilliance dissipated, a pile of dazzling, mysterious crystals appeared in front of everyone's eyes. The mysterious crystals were piled up. At a glance, there were no less than 200 crystals. Almost instantly, everyone swallowed their saliva hungrily. Kuei's eyes were filled with greedy desire. Now, am I qualified to bet with you? Qin Hao smiled faintly. With a wave of his sleeve, he put the mysterious crystals into his space ring. How do we bet? Kuei asked eagerly. At this moment, he no longer despised Qin Hao. 200 mysterious crystals were not a small number. Qin Hao was qualified for them to take him seriously. Let's bet on whether I can enter the second floor of the medical tower. If I lose, the odds will be 1 to 5. How about that? Qin Hao was worried about the lack of mysterious crystals in his hands. Now is a good opportunity to make money. Okay, I'll bet with you. Kuei nodded and agreed without thinking. How could Qin Hao enter the second floor of the medical tower? In his opinion, Qin Hao was a fool. Maybe he was a rich second-generation prodigal. Anyway, he was here to give him money. There was no reason for him not to take it. While speaking, Kuei waved his hand and took out 150 mysterious crystals from his summer bag. He raised his nose proudly. Ranked in the top 10 of the Earth list, he could receive 40 mysterious crystals a month. He had saved up 150 crystals for a long time. Moreover, he often went out to do some trial missions to earn mysterious crystals. This was all his property. Mysterious crystals contained a large amount of spiritual qi. Not only could they be used to improve strength, but they were also the common currency in the cultivation circle of the Luoshui Empire. What gold and silver? Those were the things of the common people. They were no longer useful here. Qin Hao nodded. 150 mysterious crystals were indeed a lot. The top 10 of the Earth list were indeed extraordinary. Well, newcomer, we also want to bet. Can we not participate? I have 2 mysterious crystals. I have 3. I have 10. I have saved them for half a year. I have 20. I got them by killing evil beasts with several junior fellow apprentices. I have 50. Immediately, a large number of disciples were also enthusiastic. They all wanted to bet with Qin Hao. After all, Qin Hao was an idiot. Who wouldn't want free money? However, they were a little skeptical. Once Qin Hao lost, could he afford to pay so many mysterious crystals? Okay, I won't refuse anyone. And don't worry, I'm the grandson of the Grand Duke of a big country. My family is very rich. I even have people in the merchant union of the Luoshui Empire. I can afford to pay you all the mysterious crystals. Qin Hao laughed happily. In order to make some money, he had to make up some lies. It was really hard for him. However, Qin Hao was right about one thing. He did have people in the merchant union. That person had a very high status. He was Hai Fei Zi, an important member of the merchant union. If he really lost, Qin Hao was not worried. Moreover, he couldn't lose. With the palace jade in hand, how could he lose? If you really don't have money, it doesn't matter. I think the weapons in your hands are good. As long as they are refined weapons, you can use them as chips. Low-grade refined weapons will be 20 mysterious crystals. Medium-grade refined weapons will be 40 crystals, and upper-grade refined weapons will be 80 crystals. If you have weapons, well, you can use 500 crystals as collateral. Let's start. Qin Hao crossed his arms and smiled amiably. He had decided to trick him. If he won 100 refined weapons and put them into the Great Void Cauldron to refine, the surging spiritual energy would be enough to let him level up 2 more times. Okay, my sword, I'll bet. My saber, I'll bet. My precious armor, I'll bet. Boo-hoo. My beloved hook, please lie on the ground for a while. I'll bring you back right away. These disciples were blinded by Qin Hao's temptation, and they all threw their swords and machetes to the ground with heartache. In addition, there were some strange hooks, forks, hoes, sickles, and so on. In short, there was a wide variety of weapons. These weapons were taken from their respective sects before they came to Qiyang University. They were all treasures. Chapter 299. Translator, trans and editor. Trans and treat your steel whip well. In short, the weapon was more important than their lives. But they would never lose. Qin Hao was just a new student, yet he boasted shamelessly about entering the second floor of the medical tower. His brain must have been kicked by a donkey. He was a complete idiot. At the thought of winning a large number of mysterious crystals from Qin Hao later, the disciples fell into a beautiful dream and laughed loudly. It was too exciting. I have to say, you're not only arrogant, but there's also something wrong with your brain. Betting with so many of us will make you take off your pants when you lose. Do you see the steel whip in my hand? This is a low-grade weapon. I'll bet on it. With a flash of brilliance in He Kuei's hand, a steel whip that was 2 feet long and as thick as a child's wrist appeared. The steel whip was covered with patterns and blood grooves, looking extremely fierce. Obviously, it was made of extraordinary materials. Gritting his teeth, He Kuei threw the steel whip into the crowd of weapons. Although he was reluctant, he could only temporarily give up his treasure in the face of great temptation. Senior brothers, it's really surprising that you're so generous. Qin Hao shook his head. A group of brainless seniors. They were simply courting death. Cut the crap. Hurry up and get into the medical tower. I'd like to see how you can enter the second floor if you're not an expert on the earth roll. He Kuei couldn't wait any longer. He pointed at Qin Hao and asked him to enter the medical tower. Yes, hurry up and get in. Be prepared to lose. We won't be polite with your mysterious crystals. The others hurriedly urged him. In the face of everyone's aggressive attitude, Qin Hao sneered, turned around, and entered the medical tower. This group of people also rushed in like a tide. They wanted to witness Qin Hao's tragic end with their own eyes. It had to be said that the sudden influx of so many people immediately attracted the dozens of students on the first floor of the medical tower. They were selecting medicinal herbs. Especially after seeing He Kuei's dark face, they were all shocked and faintly felt that something exciting would happen. They stopped a few students who walked in and asked, "What was going on today? Why were so many people here all of a sudden? What was going on?" He Kuei's face became even darker. Was there going to be a big show? Then, the students who had bet with Qin Hao spoke up. It was like this. After hearing this, the eyes of the students on the first floor of the medical tower instantly lit up. F***CK. There's a prodigal son whose brain was stepped on by a donkey? Why didn't you tell us earlier? We also want to take a gamble. Earning money from idiots? How interesting. It was too explosive. Immediately, these disciples hurriedly grabbed Qin Hao and fought to hand over the mysterious crystal stones and their weapons. Qin Hao happily accepted all of them. He had no reason to refuse. In an instant, the number of students who bet with Qin Hao increased from dozens to more than 100. The total number of mysterious crystals reached more than 1,000, and there were 60 or 70 refined weapons. Among them, the highest quality was He Kuei's beloved steel whip. At this moment, everyone looked to the southeast corner of the medical tower at the same time. That was the only way to enter the second floor of the medicine tower. There stood an old man in his 60s. The old man seemed to be asleep. His eyes were closed, and he looked very weak. However, Qin Hao's intuition told him that this person was extremely strong, much stronger than Sister Yun. He was the guardian of the medical tower, Yao Lao. He once crippled a 9-star mortal saint with one palm. "Greetings, Yao Lao." Qin Hao stepped forward and cupped his hands in respect. "Earth roll waste token," Yao Lao said indifferently. His eyes were closed, and he didn't look at Qin Hao. The Earth Roll Waste token was the status symbol of the top 10 on the Earth Roll. With this token, one could enter the second floor of the medical tower. Obviously, Qin Hao didn't have it. "Sorry, I don't have it," Qin Hao said truthfully. "Haha, this kid. Idiot." All the students on the first floor of the medical tower couldn't help but laugh crazily. As expected, Qin Hao had a problem with his brain. Without the Earth Roll Waste token, he wanted to enter the second floor of the medical tower. This loss was simply intolerable. "However, I have this." Qin Hao's next words made everyone's heart tremble. Then their eyes widened. Qin Hao took out a white jade token and handed it to Yao Lao. The token was like a piece of jade. His ancestor was Gongyu. It represented the outer yard's great elder, Yin Ing Chong. Was it real or fake? Was it stolen? Gongyu? Yao Lao's closed eyes suddenly opened and shone with a sharp light. He then bowed and said, "Greetings, great elder." Boom. The students who made a bet with Qin Hao felt that the sky was falling. Yao Lao actually bowed to a freshman. Then, Qin Hao must be able to, "Elder, you don't have to be so polite. Sister Yin lent me the gong you temporarily. She said that with this jade, I can freely enter any place in the outer yard." Qin Hao said politely and calmly. His calmness was seen by many students as if they were struck by lightning. He Kuei's face turned extremely pale in an instant, almost like a white ghost. His heart was cold, and countless beads of sweat quickly fell from his cheeks. "That's right. With the gongyu in hand, you can go all the way. Please go to the second floor." Yao Lao didn't say much. He took the initiative to step aside and made an inviting gesture. At this moment, his face was full of curiosity. Yining Chong was a very proud girl. At a young age, she was deeply loved by the old dean and was given the gongyu. Now, the gongyu fell into the hands of the young man in front of him. It was obvious that this person's relationship with Yining Chong was definitely not ordinary. Qin Hao naturally attracted Yao Lao's great interest. He didn't know what was so special about this young man that he could get the gongyu from Yining Chong. "Thank you," Qin Hao said gratefully. Then, he turned around and smiled at the hundreds of students below. His smile was very friendly, but in the eyes of others, this smile was as terrifying as a devil. It was simply sucking blood without spitting out bones. "If you have the gongyu, why didn't you say so earlier?" Hundreds of students fell into the bottomless abyss. The mysterious crystals they had painstakingly accumulated for half a year were gone. Their beloved weapons were also gone. They were slapped in the face by a new student who had just arrived. "Wait a minute." Seeing that Qin Hao's foot was about to step into the second floor of the medical pagoda, He Kuei immediately stopped him. He was afraid that if he was half a step slower, Qin Hao's foot would land on the second floor. Then, He Kuei's steel whip would break up with him and surrender to Qin Hao's arms. "Oh, senior brother He Kuei, is there anything else? Don't worry. I will treat your steel whip well and make it work for me." Qin Hao said coldly. "Treat the steel whip well?" "Yes, I will refine it and make it disappear forever as if it had never existed in the world." After that, he lifted his foot again. "Stop right there. I suspect that your gongyu is fake. Yao Lao, why didn't you look at him or check him and let him step into the second floor? What are you doing as a supervisor? Did you eat shit?" Chapter 300. He was the enemy, Qin Hao. "You're blatantly shielding him. Is the new student your grandson? Great. As the supervisor of the medical tower, you bend the law for personal gain and disregard the rules of the academy. This is simply intolerable. This is unfair to us. We refuse to accept this." A large number of disciples followed He Kuei and shouted together, like flies filling the sky, making people feel upset. "Get out." Yao Lao's face turned cold. The orange yuan qi on his body rose and became extremely dense. With a wave of his hand, "Ha!" A heavy slap landed on the face of He Kuei, who was leading the crowd. The slap caused his feet to leave the ground and his body to fly out diagonally. He even spat out blood, and his face was swollen like a steamed bun. When this slap landed, the chaotic first floor of the medicine tower became completely silent. Many disciples opened their mouths in horror, sweat dripping down their faces. "Oh my God, what happened just now?" They actually questioned Yao Lao. Yao Lao didn't even care about the elders of the outer yard. He had even crippled a 9-star mortal saint with a single palm strike. They actually dared to talk back to Yao Lao. He Kuei even scolded Yao Lao for eating shit. This imagination was simply terrifying to the extreme. "I am old, but my eyesight is not bad. Old man can tell whether the gongyu is fake or not. Young man, go up to the second floor, but only once." Yao Lao looked at the jade in Qin Hao's hand, his eyes filled with nostalgia. For many years, This jade was something that he always carried with him. However, he had committed a grave mistake and was stripped of his position as the Great Elder. He was punished to watch over the medicine tower. This was something that happened decades ago. Therefore, Yao Lao was very familiar with the palace jade in Qin Hao's hands. However, he would only give Qin Hao one chance to step into the medical tower. He would not open the back door in the future. Qin Hao stood in place, a little absent-minded. Just now, when Yao Lao made his move, he had already sensed that monstrous aura. Yao Lao's strength was actually a heavenly saint powerhouse. Above Yuan Zone was Yuan Sage. The Yuan Sage realm was divided into 3 stages. The first stage was the Mortal Sage realm, also known as the Small Sage realm. The second stage was the Profound Sage realm, which was Yun Ing Chang's current level. The third stage was the Heavenly Saint. However, judging from the average cultivation base of the elders in the outer yard, a Heavenly Saint tier master would definitely not stay in the weak outer yard. Yao Lao should at least be an elder in the inner yard. Even the dean of the outer yard might not be a Heavenly Saint. But why was he guarding this lonely medicine tower? Why not go to the inner yard and become a high and mighty elder? This was a man with a story. Qin Hao nodded and replied respectfully, "Thank you, Grandpa Yao Lao." After saying that, he stepped towards the second floor. Rumble. When his foot landed, it was as if it was stomping on everyone's hearts, trampling their little hearts and livers into pieces. Up to the second floor, a new student went up to the second floor. Qin Hao was not an expert on the earth roll, but he was able to enter the second floor's superior area. This was unprecedented in the outer yard. Damn it, my glazed crystal, my weapon. This person should be killed. I will not live under the same sky as him. At this moment, hundreds of disciples clenched their fists until they bled. They had painstakingly accumulated glazed crystal for half a year, but in the end, it was Qin Hao who benefited from it. Even their beloved weapons had been taken away. A few disciples could not help but burst into tears. Their beloved weapons were handed over to someone else. They would rather die. Qin Hao clearly had the palace jade in his hands, but he still hid it and deliberately made a bet with them. It was obvious that he was cheating them. At this moment, the disciples finally understood that Qin Hao was too sinister and had to be eliminated. Hundreds of disciples had already listed Qin Hao as their public enemy. Who is this person? Why does he have Elder Yun's palace jade? I remember now. 6 days ago, the new students reported that there was a guy who openly challenged Senior Brother Huai. That person's mark was as high as level 9, and he recognized Elder Yun as his sister. His name is Qin Hao. That's right. Qin Hao could have been a core disciple, but he was suppressed by Senior Brother Huai and temporarily deprived of his core disciple status. Senior Brother Huai's master is the deputy dean. No one dares to provoke him. Qin Hao is actually quite pitiful. He did not get the respect he deserved and was bullied like an ordinary disciple. But he killed Senior Brother Yan's cousin. 4 days later, Senior Brother Yan will fight Qin Hao in the Zhanwu arena. At this moment, the disciples came to a sudden realization and figured out Qin Hao's identity. What did you say? That person just now is Qin Hao? With a thunderous roar, He Kuei, who was sent flying, jumped up like a fierce tiger and immediately rushed back, grabbing a disciple's collar tightly. He Kuei's eyes were already suffused with a monstrous bloody light. Senior Brother He Kuei, that person is most likely Qin Hao. Only Qin Hao is qualified to take the palace jade from Elder Yun. I heard that his 200 pieces of glazed crystal were actually given by Elder Yun. He is not the grandson of the Grand Duke. He is lying to us. Boo-hoo, we have been fooled. The disciple cried. It was all his fault for being too greedy and falling into Qin Hao's trap. He could not be too greedy in the future. I'm so angry. He Kuei was already angry, and now he was even more furious. His anger almost razed the medical tower to the ground. His junior brother, Du Ziding, had died at the hands of Qin Hao. He had been looking for Qin Hao in the outer yard for 5 days and 5 nights. He even found him in the toilet. He did not expect that the person in front of him was the little bastard Qin Hao he had been searching for. Moreover, He had cheated He Kuei of 150 glazed crystals. He had also cheated away his weapon, the steel whip. Qin Hao, if I don't kill you, I swear I am not human. He Kuei's eyes were bloodshot. He roared and rushed up to the second floor of the medical tower. His surging aura was like that of a raging bear. F***, what's going on? Has He Kuei gone crazy? I heard that when He Kuei goes crazy, even he is afraid of himself. Even though he lost the glazed crystals in his weapon, and we are very distressed. Isn't He Kuei too angry? Hee, you guys don't know yet, right? I heard that He Kuei's junior brother died at the hands of Qin Hao. Qin Hao will probably not leave the medical tower alive today. Ha ha. There will be a good show to watch. Many students walked out of the shadows of being cheated and gloated. It turned out that Qin Hao was He Kuei's enemy. Qin Hao was really tired of living. He had offended senior brother Huai and Mount Ibaraki, who was ranked 8th on the Earth leaderboard. Now, he had even offended He Kuei. How many brains did he have to survive in the outer yard? The disciples could already feel that Qin Hao would not live for long. Even with Elder Yun's support, he would not survive more than 3 days in the outer yard. After all, Yuan Huai, Mount Ibaraki, and He Kuei were all first-class ruthless characters. They had 108 ways to make Qin Hao die without a burial place. A dignified core disciple was really pitiful. Stepping into the second floor of the medical tower, Qin Hao's gaze swept over and shook his head. What? No herbs that you fancy? Chapter 301. I want to go to the third floor, although the herbs on the second floor were not peerless treasures. They were still rare in the secular world. Qin Hao actually looked down on them. The herbs are good, but I'm not satisfied. Qin Hao said honestly. He basically had all the herbs on the first floor. Although the herbs on the second floor were precious, he still had a few in his spatial ring. Back then, Qin Hao took the savings of the old demon of the Black Mountain. When he came from Fengli Temple, he also took away all of Dan Xian's herb garden. His master could no longer refine pills. Fengli Temple had also temporarily lost its only alchemist. Rather than letting the herb garden slowly wither, it was better to put in Qin Hao's spatial ring. I want to go to the supreme grade area on the third floor. Then, Qin Hao spoke out his thoughts with a sincere look in his eyes. In order to defeat Mount Ibaraki, he had to go to the third floor and obtain even rarer herbs to refine high-grade pills. This way, he could increase his strength in the shortest time possible. Kid, you're quite arrogant. You've only been in the academy for 6 days, and you want to go to the supreme grade area? However, for Gong Yu's sake, I'll let you go this time. But kid, remember, this is the only time. Yao Lao took a deep breath. Back then, he was not only the great elder of the outer court, but also the only alchemy instructor in the outer court. Now, he was cowardly in the medicine tower. He could faintly sense the aura of an alchemist from Qin Hao's body. He felt a sense of familiarity. Gong Yu was also Yao Lao's possession. It was fate that Qin Hao had met her. He nodded and agreed. Their conversation was immediately transmitted downstairs. The soundproofing of the medicine tower was actually very poor. Even the sound of the wind could be heard. The disciples who stayed on the first floor felt as if they were struck by lightning. Crack! Oh my God! Qin Hao, that guy, went to the third floor. A new student who just reported is actually on par with a senior brother who is in the top 3 of the Earth leaderboard. My heart hurts. We've been in the academy for 3 years, and we don't even have the qualifications to go up to the second floor. Yet, he's ascending to the third floor. This is a slap to our faces. I'm so jealous. I must kill him. A single stone stirred up 1,000 ripples. The hearts of many disciples could be said to be extremely shocked. Stepping onto the second floor, they found that Qin Hao had already swindled all of their assets, making them feel ashamed. Now that he had ascended to the third level, wouldn't he be slapping them in the face? What he meant was, you older students are a bunch of good-for-nothings. Do you think I, the new students, have any face? The third floor was a place that only the top 3 seniors on the Earth roll could enter. In an instant, their hatred for Qin Hao became even more intense. The hatred seeped into their bones and teeth. Thank a lot, kid. Qin Hao was overjoyed. He was just giving a try, but in the end, he was really allowed to go. Sigh, is it because I'm too handsome? So handsome that even Yao Lao was moved. It's hard to refuse such kindness. Then I can only accept it. Well, I'll reluctantly go to the third floor. Just as he raised his foot, stop right there. Hei Kuei, who was as furious as a bear, rushed up. He was ranked 9th on the Earth roll and was qualified to come to the second floor. However, just as he arrived, he saw Qin Hao's foot stepping on the third floor. Immediately, Hei Kuei could not hold back a mouthful of blood. He raised his head and spat it out wildly. It was earth-shattering. The third floor was a place that even Hei Kuei had never been to. Senior brother Hei Kuei, why are you doing this? Why are you spitting out blood and so agitated? Qin Hao asked curiously. You're asking the obvious. Even I'm not qualified to go to the third floor. The jealousy in Hei Kuei's eyes was self-evident. I'm agitated? I'm so King agitated. In fact, Hei Kuei was not stupid. He did not dare to make a move now. Even if he knew that Qin Hao was his enemy, he could only suppress his displeasure in his heart. Yao Lao was still by Qin Hao's side. He came up just to see what precious medicinal herbs Qin Hao had chosen. He felt that Qin Hao had chosen the medicinal herbs for him. Because today, Qin Hao was dead for sure. The medicinal herbs, interspatial rings, and mysterious crystals would all become Hei Kuei's treasures. Once Qin Hao left the medical tower, Hei Kuei would rob him. This was Hei Kuei's happy thought. But now, Qin Hao wanted to go to the third floor, but he could only watch helplessly. He was not qualified to step on it. Hei Kuei, don't think that I will be merciful to you just because your face is darker. As the 9th on the Earth roll, do you understand? Yao Lao said coldly. In other words, if you dare to follow, I will immediately break your legs. This disciple understands. Hei Kuei's face was sullen, but he still smiled and nodded in agreement. At this moment, his fists were already clenching on his back. Let's go, kid. Time is limited. Leave immediately after you choose the medicinal herbs. Yao Lao glanced at Qin Hao. Qin Hao nodded. He glanced at the sullen Hei Kuei. This Hei Kuei's face was even darker, as if a layer of pot ash could be scraped off from it. Shaking his head, Qin Hao went up to the legendary third floor, leaving Hei Kuei alone on the second floor. The third floor did not have as many medicinal herbs as the first floor, nor was it as full of appearance as the second floor. This place was very small and dark. The number of medicinal herbs was also very small, but every kind was incomparably precious. After Qin Hao glanced at it, his heart was burning with passion. There was a fire fairy grass in the corner. It was extremely helpful for fire elemental masters and could even increase the power of fire. There was a blue wolf flower in the middle that could condense a high-grade third-grade pill. Qilin vine, moon luo leaf, golden cloud bamboo. There were countless rare treasures. No wonder it was one of the 4 great academies of the Luo Shui Empire. No wonder it was the medical tower that stored medicinal herbs for the 4 great academies. Qin Hao nodded with satisfaction. At this moment, his heart was itching. He couldn't wait to knock Yao Lao out and rob the medical tower of the outer court. How is it, kid? Do you like it this time? Yao Lao said proudly. From the other's eyes, he could already see the desire. I like it very much. I want that fire fairy grass. Qin Hao pointed at a flower pot in the corner where the fire fairy grass was growing. The fire fairy grass was not afraid of darkness. It had the light attribute. 200 low-grade Xian crystals. Give it to me. Yao Lao extended his hand to Qin Hao. Hiss! Qin Hao sucked in a cold breath. A fire fairy grass was priced at 200 Xian crystals. It was not something an ordinary person could afford. The third floor was not a place an ordinary disciple should visit. An ordinary disciple could only receive 1 Xian crystal per month. However, the fire fairy grass was worth the price. Immediately, Qin Hao took out 200 Xian crystals and handed it to Yao Lao. Yeah, I want it too. Qin Hao said again. 500 Xian crystals. Give it to me. Rumble. Qin Hao's heart trembled. The price of the fire fairy grass was reasonable. Wasn't the Yuluoye a bit too much? Qin Hao judged that it was worth 400 Xian crystals at most in the outer court. This Yuluoye grew in the Medicine Valley. It was exchanged with the life of a disciple from the inner court. That disciple has already sacrificed himself. Therefore, it is unique in the medical tower and even in the entire Luo Shui imperial city. Yao Lao said. He could see the doubt in Qin Hao's heart. Qin Hao was shocked. So that was how it was. The inner court disciple risked his life to bring Yulia out of the terrifying Medicine Valley. The rarer something was, the more valuable it was. Yulia was worth it. But I have no money now, Qin Hao said awkwardly. What did you say? Chapter 302. Gambling on Yao Lao's identity out of respect for Gong Yu and Yining Chong. Yao Lao had already shown great kindness by allowing Qin Hao, a mere new disciple, to enter the incomparably lofty third floor. To Qin Hao, this was a supreme glory. If word got out, he would be able to laugh at all the disciples of the outer yard. It's fine if he's not grateful, but now he's saying he doesn't have money? Brat, do you know the price of fooling me? At this point, Yao Lao's aura surged. If Qin Hao couldn't give him a reasonable answer, Yao Lao would let Qin Hao know how many eyes Ma Wanya had. Ahem. Of course I understand. Rumor has it that there was once an elder who didn't pay up and was beaten into dementia by you. But don't worry, my money isn't on me, it's down there. Qin Hao hurriedly pointed to the first floor of the medical tower. His money was with someone else. In fact, Qin Hao had calculated correctly that those disciples who lost the bet would not easily hand over the mysterious crystals and weapons. It would be very difficult for Qin Hao to obtain it. But what if it was Yao Lao who asked for it? Yes, the scene must be spectacular. You brat, you're quite sinister and bold. But I like it. Yao Lao laughed as he scolded Yuluoye. He dispersed his aura and allowed Qin Hao to take Yuluoye away. The little rascal Qin Hao was very clever. He was a little fellow that could be cultivated. Below, the first floor of the medicine tower, F***CK. Qin Hao dares to trick Yao Lao. You want to take away the herbs without any money? There was once a guy who was even more arrogant than Qin Hao. He was an elder of the outer yard. He refused to pay Yao Lao and was beaten into an idiot. Qin Hao is going to be in big trouble this time. He will definitely be slapped to death. Huh. Many disciples who had bet with Qin Hao finally let out a sigh of relief. At this moment, they couldn't wait for Yao Lao to kill Qin Hao. In this way, their bet with Qin Hao was cancelled, and they didn't have to give him the mysterious crystals and weapons. The second floor of the medical tower, F***CK. How dare he fool Yao Lao? Qin Hao must be tired of living. Yeah, he's going to die soon. He's going to die soon. He Kuei could not help but laugh. He felt that his steel whip was coming back. In fact, the disciples on the first floor also thought so. But in the end, Qin Hao also said that his money would be paid by He Kuei and these disciples. Puff, puff, puff. Countless mouthfuls of blood spurted out, and many disciples fainted. The third floor of the medical tower. Qin Hao smiled embarrassedly. After taking the fire fairy grass and moon leaf, he pointed to a Ganoderma at the top of the shelf. That, I want it too. His words made Yao Lao's body tremble. He said seriously, this thing is very expensive. Do you really want it? Yes. That's a 500-year-old blood Ganoderma. Yeah, I want it. It's more precious than moon leaf. I'm rich. The blood Ganoderma is worth 500 mysterious crystals. My money is waiting for you downstairs. Get lost. Yao Lao had seen shameless people, but he had never seen someone as thick-skinned as Qin Hao. Not only did he take the old man's medicinal herbs, but he also asked the old man to help him collect the debt. Yao Lao's status in the outer yard was very honorable. When he took the position of the first elder, the current old dean was still a young boy who followed behind Yao Lao and called him eldest senior brother. Qin Hao treated Yao Lao as a servant. You see, you also said that I only have one chance to step into the third floor. I must cherish it. Qin Hao rubbed his nose. He might not be able to come next time, so he had to take as much as he could. Who said you can't come? Isn't it just a matter of a word from me? Yao Lao rolled his eyes at Qin Hao and waved his hand. Take the blood Ganoderma, but only once. Yes, 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 only once. Qin Hao happily took the blood Ganoderma. At this moment, his heart ached. In the blink of an eye, more than 1,000 mysterious crystals were gone. But fortunately, the money was given by Heitong first. With these 3 precious herbs, Qin Hao was confident that he could raise his strength to above a 6-star essence ancestor. After all, his alchemy skills were unparalleled in the world. At that time, on the arena, he would blind the eyes of these useless disciples. Turning around, Qin Hao prepared to leave. Suddenly, he noticed that there was an inner pellet on the 3rd shelf. This was the inner core of a demonic beast. Judging from its luster, its grade was definitely not low. Qin Hao thought of the dog spirit. The dog spirit had followed him all the way here and had worked hard without complaint. He did not care about his own safety to protect Qin Hao's dignity. Qin Hao had not done anything for Brother Dog until now. That, Grandpa Yao Lao, I want to make a bet with you. Qin Hao chuckled, looking like a cunning businessman. You want to bet with me? Yao Lao was stunned. Qin Hao, this brat, had eaten a bear's heart and leopard's guts. Not to mention that he had cheated hundreds of disciples of their mysterious crystals and weapons. Yao Lao could almost imagine that once Qin Hao left the medical tower, he would be hunted down by hundreds of people. Now, he wanted to cheat the old man. However, Yao Lao did not think that Qin Hao could win. What were we betting on? Yao Lao guarded the medical tower alone and was actually very lonely. Usually, he did not even have anyone to talk to. It was not that he did not have anyone, but he was too lazy to talk to them. In his eyes, ordinary disciples were a bunch of idiots who had nothing in common. Qin Hao was different. Yao Lao had a good impression of Qin Hao because he had the aura of an alchemist. Suddenly, he was interested. He felt that he had said more today than he had in the medical tower for more than 20 years. I want to bet that inner core of the demonic beast. If I lose, I will return the fire fairy herb, moonleaf, and blood lingji mushroom. But if I win, you have to give me the inner core of the demonic beast. Qin Hao's eyes were very serious. Think carefully. Those 3 treasures are worth thousands of mysterious crystals. They are far more valuable than an inner core. Yao Lao did not mind betting with Qin Hao, but the inner core's value was too low. Qin Hao was making a losing deal. Once he lost, he would go bankrupt. Think carefully. I want to bet. Qin Hao had to win the inner core for Brother Dog. Okay, how do we bet? Yao Lao asked. Qin Hao is really stubborn. Let's bet on your identity. I know who you are. Qin Hao looked straight into Yao Lao's eyes, as if he could see through everything. Ha ha, you overestimate yourself. Regarding this, even Yao Lao, who was always serious in speech and manner, was amused by Qin Hao. Qin Hao knew his identity? Impossible. In fact, as the former Grand Elder, in the entire outer yard, except for the current dean, no one knew Yao Lao's identity. Even Ouyang Hua did not have a right to know. Even Yao Lao himself had almost forgotten who he was. Qin Hao was just a new student. How could he recognize the real identity of the old man? Was he a god? Did he want to go to heaven? Did he become a demon? Do you dare to bet? Compared to Yao Lao's indifference, Qin Hao was unusually serious. Okay, old man will bet with you. If you can guess my identity, you can take the inner core of the 7th level demonic beast. Take it as a free gift. Yao Lao also regained his dignity. He was secretly competing in his heart. He wanted to see how Qin Hao would win. If he could win, Yao Lao was even willing to lower his status and use the ability of a heavenly saint to refine pills for him for free. This was simply Qin Hao's ancestral grave emitting smoke. Hee, I guess you are an alchemist. Qin Hao's lips slowly curled up. Boom. Chapter 303. Walk around more. He stood in place, unable to calm down for a long time. His eyes flashed with many complicated expressions. After a long time, Yao Lao sighed sadly. You win the 7th grade monster's inner core. You can take it. Pill refining master? That's right. Old Man was indeed an outstanding pill refining master. However, he had not refined pills for a long time. Although Qin Hao did not guess Yao Lao's specific identity, he said his occupation. This could be considered an opportunistic trick. He could not help but ask, "How did you guess?" Very simple. Qin Hao was very happy. As he went to retrieve the 7th grade monster's inner core, he replied, "Just like how you can sense that I am a pill refining master, I can also sense you." After retrieving the inner core, he went back to Yao Lao. Qin Hao met his gaze. Interesting little guy. Yao Lao was startled and smiled faintly. Qin Hao had already aroused his strong interest. Yao Lao was strong, so he could naturally sense the medicinal fragrance on Qin Hao's body and the exquisite operation of the primordial fire in his body. This was fundamentally different from other elemental practitioners. This showed that Qin Hao's fire control was very deep, and he was definitely a pill refining master. However, the other party's strength was so low, but he could still sense that Yao Lao was a pill refining master. His methods were very surprising. "Little guy, I feel like an old friend at first sight and have a good impression of you. If you have time, come to the medical tower more often and chat with me. If one day you make me happy, I will give you some medicinal ingredients. Maybe I can even guide you in refining pills." Yao Lao nodded, his eyes full of appreciation for Qin Hao. "But I don't have money." Qin Hao spread out his hands and pretended to be troubled. However, in his heart, he said, "Guide me in refining pills? I'm afraid it will be me guiding you." Old Man already said that the medicine is free. I don't want your money." Yao Lao really wanted to beat Qin Hao up. This kid was a bit too shrewd. Talking to the old man was his good fortune. Many people wished to stay by the old man's side. Qin Hao had taken advantage of him, yet he was still acting like he was not happy about it. Was he looking down on old man's alchemy skills? "All right, since you're so insistent that I come here, I'll take some time to come here a few more times and take more herbs from here. I'm a new student, so my cultivation time is very precious." Sigh. Qin Hao pretended to be aggrieved, but in his heart, he was overjoyed. "Old man, I really want to give you 2 tight slaps to dampen your arrogance." "Ha." Yao Lao laughed and scolded. He was very happy today. It had been a long time since he met such an interesting disciple like Qin Hao. In the next second, he looked at the 2nd floor of the medicine tower with a serious face and said, "You have many enemies outside. Do you want me to give you another opportunity and help you leave safely?" Hei Kuei, who was ranked 9th on the Earth Roll, was waiting for Qin Hao on the 2nd floor. There were hundreds of disciples on the 1st floor, and all of them wanted to skin Qin Hao alive. How could Qin Hao be their match? Once he went out, he would be crippled even if he didn't die. At this point, Qin Hao also became serious and fearless. "No need. If I can't even solve such a small problem, what qualifications do I have to come to the medicine tower to chat with you in the future?" Hei Kuei was just a 4-star essence ancestor, and Qin Hao didn't care about him. He could use him to practice and test his strength after breaking through. "You're quite arrogant. You can beat one, but can you beat a group?" Yao Lao shook his head. It was understandable that young people were hot-blooded. However, Qin Hao didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. There is a teleportation array on the 3rd floor of the medicine tower that leads directly to the living area of the outer courtyard disciples. You can leave through the array and seize the time to cultivate. Don't waste your energy on those useless people below. There are many experts in the outer courtyard. Bear with it for now. Don't be stubborn and humiliate Gongyu. Gongyu is fated to fall into Qin Hao's hands. Judging from their relationship, it felt like he was Yao Lao's disciple. If he didn't protect Qin Hao, who else could he protect? Perhaps Qin Hao didn't know what Gongyu meant to Yao Lao. All right. Qin Hao thought about it and nodded. Hei Kuei was just a small fry, and Qin Hao wasn't afraid of him. However, when he thought about the battle in 4 days and how it concerned his dignity as a core disciple, he really shouldn't waste his time on trash disciples below. Yes, cultivate as soon as possible. Qin Hao decided to go back and refine pills. But I can't leave like this. Why? Yao Lao was stunned. Was Qin Hao really looking for excitement? They haven't given me the weapons they owe me. Qin Hao glared. You brat. Yao Lao poked Qin Hao's head with his finger. He was really an unreasonable guy. While they were talking, Yao Lao had already gone to the second floor to help Qin Hao collect the debt from He Kuei, although he was a little dissatisfied. However, Yao Lao was also involved in that debt. The mysterious crystals that Qin Hao used to buy medicine belonged to Yao Lao. Unknowingly, he had been tied to the pirate ship by Qin Hao. This little bastard. Qin Hao chuckled and waited patiently on the third floor, waiting for the treasure to fly over. 60 or 70 refined weapons, plus a low-grade murder weapon, should be able to raise his cultivation level. How wonderful! Then, he heard a noise coming from below. What followed was a burst of punches and kicks, and He Kuei's heart-wrenching screams. No, please don't do this. Weapons are like our lives. If we lose our weapons, we won't live anymore. Outside the medical tower, hundreds of disciples formed a circle, firmly blocking the piles of weapons on the ground. At this moment, Yao Lao, who was standing in front of them, was clearly a robber. How dare you talk nonsense with old man? Give it to me. Yao Lao simply waved his sleeves, and one body after another was blown out. The weapons on the ground turned into streaks of black light. Under the control of Yao Lao, they rushed into the third floor of the medical tower through the window. In the end, they fell into Qin Hao's space ring. Well, it's done. Yao Lao did it without any effort. After collecting the debt, Qin Hao directly moved to the living area of the outer yard through the spiritual array on the third floor of the medical tower. On the other side, outside the medical tower, the disciples who were bombarded by Yao Lao all over the ground cried and screamed. They were heartbroken and in so much pain that they wished they were dead. It was as if the weapons that flew away were not weapons, but their lovers, their wives. In front of Yao Lao, a robber, their sweetheart went on a date with Qin Hao. The one who cried the most violently was He Kuei. His nose was running all over his mouth. The hatred in his heart was extremely monstrous. But there was nothing he could do. Qin Hao, you trash, wait for me. I'm not going anywhere today. I'll squat at the door and wait for you to come out. I want you to die without a burial place. He Kuei cried like he was weeping blood. Trash? Hearing this sentence, Yao Lao, who had finished his business and was about to leave, stopped and turned back. I forgot to tell you something. Qin Hao said, who are a group of idiots now? Who are a group of idiots? Whose brain was kicked by a donkey. Also, you don't have to wait. Qin Hao has already run away. He may be sleeping in bed now. After that, Yao Lao disappeared from the medical tower with his hands behind his back, muttering a group of idiots. Puff, puff, puff. Immediately, another group of people spat out blood and fainted. Qin Hao, you and I are irreconcilable, puff. Chapter 304. Produced by Dinda Wen, Xiao Chun returned to his residence. He still did not see Yishui Han. That brat had disappeared for an entire morning. Xiao Chun did not know what he was doing. Qin Hao was preparing to refine pills. First, he would refine some golden sur medicine, blood recovery pills, grand primal pills, and other small pills. After rushing all the way here from the forest, he did not have many pills left in his spatial ring. The ones Yishui Han gave him were more precious, and Qin Hao was not willing to waste them. He took out a large cauldron shaped like a water tank and stood firmly in the room. The large cauldron was carved with runes, simple and ancient. It was a medicinal cauldron that Dan Xian gave Qin Hao. The medicinal cauldron's material was at the level of a high-grade weapon. It was the highest-grade cauldron that Qin Hao had ever seen. Not to mention Qiang University, there were very few of them in the entire Luoshui Empire. Just as Dan Xian said when he was in danger, it was a rare treasure. The grade of a medicinal cauldron was also very important to an alchemist. If one wanted to refine high-grade pills, a high-grade medicinal cauldron was essential in addition to one's ability to control fire. It could greatly reduce the time needed to refine pills and improve the quality of pills. Compared to the small cauldron that Qin Hao had used before, this large cauldron was many times stronger. After throwing the herbs into the large cauldron one by one, Qin Hao gathered the primal fire in his palm and focused on refining. Soon, as the medicinal fragrance spread out, a cauldron of pills was completed. Every single pill was a supreme-grade pill. There were many supreme-grade pills in this cauldron. After all, they belonged to a small category of pills, so Qin had not spent much time. Then, he refined a few more cauldrons before leaving the room in satisfaction. He prepared to go to a special place in the outer court. That place was the public killing zone for disciples. As the name implied, the killing zone was very dangerous. The disciples in the zone could wantonly rob each other of their belongings. Establishing the killing zone was also a way for the college to nurture outstanding disciples. Although the method was bloody, it greatly increased the disciples' enthusiasm. Qin Hao's goal in coming to the killing zone was very simple: to make money. Just now in a medical tower, he had used up all his mysterious crystals. Black crystals were the key to establishing a foothold in the Scarlet Sun School. Disciples without money would find it hard to advance. As an alchemy emperor, Qin Hao could not tolerate being a pauper. Not only do I want to be the strongest, he also wanted the most money. Yes, I'll trick him again. When they arrived at the killing zone, it was actually an open space. Many silhouettes were crisscrossing on the open ground. All kinds of sword techniques were used continuously as they fought against each other. Blood splattered in all directions as someone screamed and collapsed. Someone had his arm chopped off and his sumaru pouch snatched away. The corners of Qin Hao's mouth curled up slightly. Other than the arena, the killing zone was the hottest place in Qian University. Of course, it was also a good place to get rich. Here, you can do whatever you want. Suddenly, a person rushed over from the front while shouting in panic. Behind him was a bare-chested, strong disciple with a ferocious face. Help! Even the gods can't save you in front of your grandpa Zhang Fei. Before the disciple who was shouting for help could reach Qin Hao, he was caught up by the bare-chested guy. Using a long snake spear, he pierced through the disciple's chest. Then, Zhang Fei laughed loudly and swung his strong arm. The disciple who was pierced was thrown 10 meters away with a bloody hole in his chest. Blood flowed all over the ground. After twitching a few times, he died. His sumaru pouch was also taken away by Zhang Fei. Immediately, he rushed back to the killing zone and started a second round of robbery. This scene made Qin Hao's pupils contract. Looking around, there were many killers in the open space. The strong smell of blood was carried by the wind. Qin Hao spat in disgust. Although this place is dangerous, it is indeed a good place to make a fortune. Some people, in order to speed up their own cultivation, wanted to rob others for their mysterious crystals and sumaru pouches. As a result, they were not strong enough and lost their lives. As a 2-star primal ancestor, Qin Hao had the support of the Dragon Vortex technique and primal armor, so he could fight against a 5-star primal ancestor. It was not a problem for him to protect himself in the killing zone. Of course, he was not here to rob. Qin Hao did not need such a crude and barbaric robber style unless he had no other choice. He just needed to sit there with a smile and wait for others to give him money. This sounded impossible, but Qin Hao was completely capable of doing it. The outer yard gave out very few mysterious crystals. It was only given out once a month. Most of the disciples received mysterious crystals as rewards by completing the outer yard's trial missions. Qin Hao was temporarily stripped of his status as a core disciple. If he went to collect a mysterious crystal, he would be laughed at. He had refined so many elixirs just to sell them. The people here were killing each other, and someone was seriously injured every second. The consumption of elixirs was also very high. After a battle, some people might run out of elixirs. If Qin Hao sold them an elixir that could increase their strength and heal their injuries, they might be able to turn the tables. Qin Hao did not believe that the desperate killers would not be tempted when their lives were at stake. Qin Hao immediately sat down at the edge of the killing zone and took out a flag that he had prepared in advance. He stuck the flag on the ground. On it was written, "Century Dentist Product, the only one in the Physician Tower." This was quite a boastful statement. Moreover, it had Yao Lao's name on it. One had to admit that in the entire outer yard, only Qin Hao had the guts and ability to do so. Century Denda's product? The only one in the physician tower? The only one in the physician tower? F***CK, arrogant. At the edge of the open area, after Qin Hao's Denda's flag was erected, it immediately attracted a large number of disciples to watch. Everyone pointed and talked about it, disdaining Qin Hao for overestimating himself. Among the disdain, there was also ridicule. Who dared to rob in the killing zone was not prepared. Selling elixirs? You can go and drink the northwest wind. Immediately, the crowd dispersed. Those who mocked Qin Hao began to step into the open area and fought with others. An extremely tragic and bloody battle unfolded in front of Qin Hao. Qin Hao sat on the ground leisurely and swept his gaze across the various battles. His eyes suddenly lit up. Not far away, two disciples were in a killing frenzy. One of them had a wound on his shoulder, and a large amount of blood spurted out, dyeing his clothes red. The situation was critical. "Senior brother, over here." Qin Hao hurriedly waved at the other party. "Senior brother, as the saying goes, it's unwise to fight with all your strength when you're injured. You've lost so much blood, it's too dangerous. I have a hemostatic medicine produced by the medical tower, Century Denda's product. It can treat all sword wounds and can stop bleeding in a second. Why don't you buy one?" Qin Hao hurriedly persuaded. But the two people who were fighting had no time to pay attention to Qin Hao, especially the disciple whose shoulder was cut by the sword. His eyes were bloodshot, and he was eager to take revenge on his opponent. Unfortunately, he was already injured and seemed to be too anxious at the moment. Not only did he fail to take revenge, but he was also wounded. This sword cut open the clothes on his chest, and blood was gurgling. "You don't listen to good advice. You deserve to be cut. Hurry up and buy a hemostatic medicine. I'm sure you'll be fine after taking it. Maybe you'll win. Just one crystal fragment now." Chapter 305. No good medicine. Emperor black crystals were very precious to ordinary disciples. Many times, they would chisel them into pieces to trade. 10 fragments could fuse into one glazed crystal. Shut up, the medicine tower's medicine is already very greedy. One fragment can be exchanged for 5 hemostatic medicines. You're even more black-hearted than the medical tower, only giving me one. The injured disciple roared loudly without even turning his head. Don't think it's expensive. Compared to the glazed crystal fragments, your life is more important. If a person died, their fragments would belong to someone else. Their sumaru pouch would belong to someone else. Even the weapons in their hands would belong to someone else. I'm willing to give you a chance to win. One blood-clotting pill for only 1 shard. It's so cheap. Think about it carefully. You're buying your own life. Qin Hao shook his head mercifully. Perhaps his words had touched the injured disciple's heart. He immediately distanced himself from his opponent with a hesitant look on his face. He had been fighting with his opponent for a long time, and he had already finished eating his pills. Indeed, he urgently needed a hemostatic drug to suppress the injury. "You brat. If you continue to cause trouble here after I kill him, I'll kill you next." What kind of bullsh** T hemostatic medicine could stop the bleeding in 1 second? If you can stop it, I'll call you grandpa. Even if you give him a celestial pill, he'll still die. The guy who was fighting with the injured disciple angrily threatened Qin Hao. After he finished speaking, he raised his sword and attacked again. "I'll buy it." The injured disciple panicked. If he didn't take the pills now, he wouldn't be able to take it anymore. He clenched his teeth and patted the sumaru pouch on his waist. A crystal fragment flew out of the pouch and went straight to where Qin Hao was sitting. Qin Hao raised his hand and grabbed the shard. "Look, I've earned my money, haven't I?" Immediately, Qin Hao threw out a pill to stop the bleeding. The pill flew out of his hand and hit the injured disciple's chest. Immediately, the pill shattered and turned into powder. The powder solidified on the wound, and the bleeding stopped immediately. Since it was produced by Dendi, its effects were naturally excellent. There was even a cooling sensation that entered this disciple's body. His spirit was shaken, and his tired body felt even more energetic. He roared loudly and counterattacked, beating his opponent until he repeatedly retreated. In a moment of carelessness, the opponent's chest was also slashed open, and blood flowed out. Senior brother, I'm talking about you. That's right, the second guy who got injured. Your opponent bought one of my hemostatic pills. Look at how fierce he has become. If you don't buy one today, your life will be over. Other than the hemostatic medicine, I also have the vigor pill and the vitality pill. Take all 3 fragments with you. I guarantee that with one slash of my sword, your opponent will die. Qin Hao quickly changed the guest and said to another person, You shameless thing. The disciple who had bought Qin Hao's elixir was already flushed with anger. Was Qin Hao here to help him or to harm him? He was already very miserable. The hemostatic medicine just now gave him a glimmer of hope of victory. In the end, Qin Hao sold the medicine to his opponent. In this intense grief and anger, the disciple's attacks became sharper. He had to kill his opponent as soon as possible. With a wave of ruthlessness, he immediately cut a few more wounds on the second person. Look, if you don't listen to good words, you will suffer losses. In fact, fragments are nothing. How can they be more precious than life? Sigh, someone is doomed. Qin Hao pretended to shake his head and sigh. I want a medicine. Give me 2 of them. The second guy who got injured said decisively. As he spoke, he prepared to take out 3 glazed crystal fragments. You can't give it to him. I'm willing to pay 4 fragments. Senior brother, look, your opponent wants to pay 4 fragments. If your price is lower than his, I can only give him the vigor pill and the vitality pill. You must be careful. Damn it, I'll pay 5. Oh, senior brother, the guy opposite you wants to pay 5. I'll pay 6. I'll pay 7. I don't want my Sumeru pouch anymore. I'll give it to you as collateral. I don't want my Sumeru pouch anymore. I'll even give you my sword as collateral. Immediately, the 2 fellows fought to be the first to buy Qin Hao's medicinal pills. They were even willing to give up their swords and Sumeru pouches. After a round of fighting, in the end, the vigor pill and the vitality pill fell into the hands of the second person. Immediately, that person laughed out loud, swallowed the pills, and strangled the first person to death on the spot with his bare hands. Then, he heaved a sigh of relief. He finally killed his opponent. He lay on the ground with a happy smile. It was a tough fight, but suddenly he thought of something. Like him, the valuable things of his opponent all fell into the hands of Qin Hao. Although he won the fight, he didn't get anything. Because of that, he also lost his sword and Sumeru pouch. And those things all fell into the hands of Qin Hao. Damn it, you medicine seller, I'll kill you. That person stood up with a jump, his eyes glaring fiercely. However, Qin Hao was nowhere to be seen. In another corner of the fighting zone, Senior brother, you're bleeding quite a lot. Senior brother, why is your thigh broken? Speaking of which, Senior brother, you look pale. Clearly, you're lacking in essence. Come. I have a supreme grade major origin pill. After you take it, I guarantee that you'll be full of essence. I only need 3 fragments. I also have a spirit concentration pill. Chapter 306. Hei Kuei's Revenge. A large number of killers had gathered around. These killers, who were covered in blood, looked at Qin Hao with eyes full of hatred. They could not help but want to attack. Qin Hao had tricked them, and they were originally here to capture him. Unexpectedly, Zhang Fei was a step ahead of them. The killers thought that Qin Hao was dead for sure, but he caught them off guard and hit Zhang Fei until he vomited blood. Zhang Fei was a fierce person in the killing zone, ranked 13th on the Earthboard. With this move, Qin Hao had intimidated those who had acted rashly. However, in their opinion, Qin Hao could not escape death. Hei Kuei and Zhang Fei were sworn brothers, and they would not let this matter rest. This Qin Hao was going to be unlucky. After all, Hei Kuei was stronger than Zhang Fei, ranked 9th on the Earthboard. If you have the ability, tell me your name. I will definitely let Hei Kuei take revenge on you and let you experience what it feels like to be alive. Zhang Fei endured his injuries and said angrily, "Let He Kuei take revenge on me?" Qin Hao sneered. With a flash of light in his hand, he took out a steel whip. Hiss! The surrounding disciples were shocked and rubbed their eyes. They recognized this item. It was the steel whip that He Kuei always carried with him. It was a low-grade weapon that had tasted countless blood. How did it fall into Qin Hao's hands? Could it be? Even He Kuei was killed by this person? That was impossible. He Kuei was ranked 9th on the Earth board. He was very strong, and Zhang Fei could not compare to him. Good, you not only dared to injure me, but also shamelessly stole He Kuei's divine whip. Kid, I really admire your courage to seek death. You are finished, huh? Zhang Fei laughed and stood up. He did not think that the steel whip was stolen by Qin Hao. In fact, no one could take the steel whip from He Kuei, unless it was the top few people on the Earth board. Obviously, Zhang Fei knew those people, and Qin Hao was not among them. The result was very obvious. Qin Hao's steel whip was stolen. It turned out that he was a thief who stole from a dog. After the other disciples heard this, they nodded. The steel whip must have been stolen. How could Qin Hao be a match for He Kuei? He was just an ant in He Kuei's hands. You stole it? If you want revenge, tell He Kuei that my name is Qin Hao. After Qin Hao finished speaking, he turned around and left. He had earned enough mysterious crystals. It was time to go back and refine the sharp weapons in the interspatial ring. After refining over 100 refined weapons, Xiaochen wondered how much his strength would increase. He was looking forward to it. Qin Hao. Everyone was stunned and looked at each other. Then they were enlightened. I know him. He's one of the new students the Academy recruited this year. It said that his imprint is at the 9th phase. No wonder he's so powerful. Although it couldn't compare to his steel plate, it was still not bad. But now, it was stolen by someone. This made He Kuei's heart seem to have obtained a little comfort. He felt much more balanced. After all, this father's steel whip was also stolen by someone. Who is so daring to steal my brother Zhang Fei's snake spear? I will definitely tear this person into pieces. Speak, who is it? I will uphold justice for you. Although he was gloating in his heart, He Kuei still spoke in a very loyal manner. That person's name is Qin Hao. You should know him. I saw that he was still holding your beloved steel whip in his hand. Zhang Fei's face was filled with grief and indignation. F***CK. Puff. After He Kuei heard this, he couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood 3 feet high. The scene was spectacular. This scene moved Zhang Fei, and he was extremely shocked in his heart. Although He Kuei's steel whip was stolen by Qin Hao, he shouldn't be so agitated. In fact, how could he understand He Kuei's current mood? In order to avenge Du Ziding, He Kuei squatted outside Yi Shuhan's courtyard for 5 days and 5 nights in Qin Hao's toilet. In the end, he didn't manage to squat there. He decided to go to the medical tower to take some medicine to nourish his body and get rid of the bad luck in the toilet. He didn't expect that he would be cheated of his steel whip and the mysterious crystals he had saved for half a year. The person who cheated him was Qin Hao, whom he had worked so hard to find. He had chased all the way here, thinking that he could kill Qin Hao. He also heard Zhang Fei say that Qin Hao had snatched away his Zhangba snake spear. Qin Hao, F***king. I hate you to the core. I want you to be consigned to eternal damnation. He Kuei's eyes were bloodshot, like a wild beast. Seeing this scene, Zhang Fei felt much better. Brother He Kuei was really loyal. He would definitely not let Qin Hao go. Chapter 307. Late Night Robber, but brother, Qin Hao is a bit difficult to deal with, and he has Elder Yun support. Shouldn't we take our time to plan? Zhang Fei said cautiously. After knowing Qin Hao's identity, he naturally knew that the other party had a strong backer. Moreover, Qin Hao was now living in Yi Shuhan's courtyard, which was an excellent residence with Old Man Huang in charge. It was extremely unwise to rush in and kill. That's right, senior brother He Kuei, don't be impulsive. Old Man Huang is not to be trifled with. Qin Hao has Elder Yun support. He made senior brother Zhang Fei vomit blood with one palm. We're not his match. The others also advised. Can you bunch of trash compare to me? You are ordinary disciples, I am not. If I can't do it openly, I will do it secretly. Qin Hao must die. He Kuei was furious, and his bloodshot eyes made people not dare to look at him directly. He publicly insulted others as trash, and no one dared to talk back. He Kuei was ranked 9th on the Earth list, and he was indeed not someone they could compare to. Senior brother He Kuei's boldness makes us feel ashamed of our inferiority. An expert is an expert, so domineering. Qin Hao must die in 3 days. The other disciples did not expect He Kuei's decision to kill Qin Hao would be so firm. It seemed that Qin Hao would not live for more than a few days. Why 3 days? I will not let him see tomorrow's sun. He Kuei clenched his fists. In his heart, he had already thought of assassinating Qin Hao. This thought also instantly turned into determination. Zhang Fei was stunned. Could it be that you wanna? Hee, I will kill him tonight. He Kuei was full of confidence. He had already let Qin Hao escape many times, but he would definitely not be able to escape tonight. Tonight was the day Qin Hao died. On the other side, Qin Hao went back to his residence from the killing zone. He checked his interspatial ring with his mind. The Xian crystal fragments piled up like a small hill. After the fusion, there were at least 200 Xian crystals. Although it wasn't much, it could at least cover the consumption problem for the next few days. Thinking of this, Qin Hao smiled. In the next second, he was ready to refine the weapon he had won in the medical tower. Including the money he earned from selling medicinal pills in the killing zone, there were over 100 of them. In addition, there was also He Kuei's weapon, the steel whip. Accumulating a mountain of sharp weapons was definitely a great harvest. Qin Hao could not help but sigh. A great school was indeed a great school. With so many weapons, any one of them could only be obtained by a disciple of the inner cabinet in the Fengli Temple. In the Scarlet Sun Academy, it was no different from a piece of scrap metal. It was an extremely common item. This laughter almost made the other disciples faint from laughter. Gamma, loud gamma, 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 to gamma, to gamma. My dog eyes are blinded. She hasn't smiled in decades. Also, she seems to like it when people call her damned old woman. She even said that Yi Shuihan has gamma's gamma. What's wrong with her eyes? The disciples fainted. The scene of Yi Shuihan being beaten into an idiot did not appear. On the contrary, Gamma Ganma felt that Yi Shuihan's position was too far behind and let him eat the pancakes first. Hey, damned old woman, I'm not convinced. That's right, damned old woman. This is unfair to us. Damned old woman, I have to say, you're really a bitch. You actually like it when people call you that. Are you a masochist? Look at me. Do I have the Ganma's Ganma? Between the words, a large number of disciples fought to call Ganma damned old woman. They felt that it must be Shuhin's special way of calling her that had won Ganma's favor. There was even a bold disciple who took the initiative to stretch his head in front of Ganma to let her see the Ganma's Ganma. Well, I don't have the Ganma's Ganma, but I do have the Ganma's Ganma. After saying that, Ganma fished out a colander from behind her and smashed it into the disciple's mouth. Immediately, the disciple flew diagonally into the sky and turned into a rising star in the night sky. He completely disappeared in front of everyone's eyes and flew tens of thousands of miles away. Boom! Many disciples were shocked. Crack! The disciples who were close to the front felt as if lightning had struck their eyes, and they frantically retreated in shock. At this moment, countless drops of cold sweat slid down their cheeks. Even the elders on the periphery could not help but start to tremble all over. She had smashed someone with a spoon and made him disappear, It seemed that she did not like people calling her a damned old woman. A bunch of uneducated things. Qian University is getting more and more outrageous. How do you teach? Are you nurturing trash? Ganma stared at the trembling elders with a questioning gaze. Those elders did not even dare to fart. They even ran away and did not dare to buy the pancakes. Ganma's gaze made them feel extreme danger. This dangerous aura had only appeared on the vice president of the inner pavilion. Yishuehan was dumbfounded. At the same time, a row of cold sweat slid down his cheeks. He did not expect the old woman in front of him to be so powerful. Not only did she send a disciple flying with a spoon, but she also scared the elders to the point of fleeing. At this moment, Qinhao was also extremely shocked. In all honesty, as long as someone attacked, he would be able to see through the opponent's strength at a glance. When Ganma attacked, Qinhao could not detect a trace of her aura. Lao Ganma had secretly weakened the effect of the pancake, but this effect didn't disappear. Instead, it would slowly improve the strength of the disciples in the future, so that they could make progress every day. This was the real power of Lao Ganma. Boy, you have good eyesight. After a long time, Lao Ganma spoke slowly, but the shock in her eyes didn't fade at all. She had been selling pancakes for more than 10 years, and no one had seen through her technique. Even the elders of Qian University didn't have such ability. But Qinhao, a young boy, had said it in such detail. Compared to Qinhao's shock, Lao Ganma was actually more shocked. Elder, is the technique of making pancakes passed down from your ancestors? Or did you study it yourself? At this moment, Qinhao asked solemnly, and his face was unprecedentedly solemn. There was even a trace of emperor's prestige in his eyes, which made people not dare to lie. The reason why he frowned when eating just now was that the technique of making pancakes was created by Qinhao. The old woman in front of him was very likely to be from Daqin. It was even more likely that she was a relative of Qinhao. Qinhao majored in alchemy in his previous life, and his alchemy skills were unparalleled in the world. However, he also had a lot of research on arrays, inscriptions, and refining. Of course, cooking was also one of Qinhao's hobbies. His culinary skills in his previous life had reached the royal grade. It was shameful to say that the royal grade chef certificate was the lowest grade among Qinhao's many skills. However, Qinhao had only taught this pancake technique to one person in his previous life, and that was New Moon, one of the 4 great generals of the empire. Zhanlang, Yufeng, Qing Cheng, and New Moon were the 4 orphans that Qinhao had adopted. He had raised them all the way and taught them cultivation techniques. Zhanlang had inherited Qinhao's combat skills. Yufeng had learned Qinhao's arrays. Qing Cheng had learned the art of refining. New Moon was a girl, and she had learned the art of alchemy that Qinhao was most proud of. She was also the female pharmacist who was known as the first celestial venerable in Daqin other than Qinhao and Dendi. Without a doubt, Lao Ganma must be related to New Moon. Perhaps she was a descendant of New Moon. This made Qinhao almost unable to restrain the excitement in his heart. It turned out that his subordinates had not all died. At least, New Moon's descendants were still alive. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.